Chapter 748, Family Heritage Enhancement, Conditions to Return to the Peak. However, he knew that Su Ruyan before him still required proper training. In Su Ruyan's stubborn and beautiful eyes, confusion and helplessness emerged. As a young lady of her family, how could she possibly know what the attitude of a maidservant was like? Yet, thinking of how the maids at home served her, her slender, jade-like hands clenched into fists, and she bit her lip. Eventually, with a trembling figure, she knelt before Lu Changxing, bowing down. He pays her respects to the young master. Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised. He didn't expect Su Ruyan to adapt so quickly. He stroked his chin and said with a light laugh, "Take off your clothes." Su Ruyan didn't speak. Her soft and fair jade arms lifted, somewhat trembling as she undid her undergarments. With the undergarments falling to the floor and resting on her beautiful feet, her naked, exquisite body was fully revealed. This adaptability, this change of heart, truly is extraordinary. But even here it is fiery red. Lu Changxing regarded the seductive figure of Su Ruyan before him, clicking his tongue inwardly. However, even though Su Ruyan seemed submissive, kneeling before him, there was still a trace of haughtiness and inviolability in her expression. Not at all like the maids in the White Jade Tower who had been trained, their eyes dull and lifeless. But having light in her eyes, slowly training her myself, seems more interesting. Lu Changxing touched his chin and said, "Su Ruyan, though incapable of actively flirting and serving in a charming manner, even clumsy and inexperienced in serving, if she were to completely submit under his training, it seemed to him that there could indeed be a different kind of interest and sense of achievement. That's enough, tidy yourself up. Just stand by the side, I will call you if there's anything I need." Lu Changxing, feeling somewhat heated at the sight of the enticing body before him, said to Su Ruyan. He didn't directly pluck the tempting fruit before him. After all, such things are more interesting when done slowly. And he didn't want Su Ruyan to change so noticeably all at once. After speaking, he returned the ancient beast taming charm to Su Ruyan. He didn't want to go too far, it was also to give Wang Lin some respect. The ancient beast taming charm returned to the sea of consciousness in Su Ruyan's forehead. Wang Lin said nothing, knowing that at this time, Su Ruyan needed to be left alone quietly. Su Ruyan also didn't speak, her expression wooden. She knew the moment she called for Lu Changxing to stay, she could only obediently listen and cooperate. In fact, deep down, she didn't have the courage to resist Lu Changxing. After all, even the senior Wang Lin had submitted to Lu Changxing, her resistance would be nothing but self-inflicted suffering. "My lord." In the Grand Hall's bedroom, Ling Zixiao was suddenly embraced by Lu Changxing and let out a soft whine through her nostrils. 3 days later, Lu Changxing returned to Rui Prefecture for a while and brought the 9 Netherhound back to Bai Lake Mountain. This, another heavenly rank bloodline demon beast. Wang Lin was shocked to see Lu Changxing bringing back a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast. Although to her, a nascent soul true lord, a heaven rank beast was not exceedingly rare, it wasn't commonplace either. Su Ruyan also saw the 9 Netherhound. This caused her to be shocked, and at the same time, to believe in Lu Changxing's words a bit more. After all, Lu Changxing had already revealed 3 heavenly rank bloodline demon beasts and 1 true spirit level demon beast. Who knew if there were any more heavenly rank demon beasts? As long as she behaved and performed well, it didn't seem like a big deal to give herself one. Subsequently, Lu Changxing briefly explained the situation with Wang Lin to Lu Miaoyun. He stated that for the children's cultivation, they should consult with Wang Lin directly. On the first day of each month, they would bring the ancient beast taming charm to their children for cultivation guidance and pointers. At the same time, Lu Changxing gave Wang Lin the cultivation methods of the Blackwater Dragon Spirit weapon as well as all other techniques from the system. After all, in order to have Wang Lin give guidance in cultivation, he definitely had to pass on the techniques to her. Faced with this situation, Wang Lin forthwith disclosed her inheritance from Vermilion Bird Palace. It included 2 orthodox level cultivation techniques, 7 peripheral sect level cultivation techniques, more than 10 exquisite level cultivation methods, and the inheritance of 5 third-rank skills. One could say that with this contribution from Wang Lin, Lu Changsheng's family became the #1 in Jiang country regarding the foundation of cultivation techniques. Would this be too much? Seeing Wang Lin disclose so many inheritances, Lu Changsheng said somewhat apologetically. Wang Lin is now the young master's person. These techniques and inheritances naturally belong to the young master, Wang Lin said deferentially. The favor of a lady is indeed hard to accept. Lu Changsheng felt somewhat at a loss due to Wang Lin's actions. After all, he had promised to restore her physical body and bring her back to her peak. But now he hadn't done anything yet, and here Wang Lin was, starting to cultivate demon beast Dao soldiers for him and teach his children. Moreover, she contributed so many techniques and inheritances all at once, which really made him feel a bit embarrassed. Wang Lin, you are now only left with your divine soul. If you want to restore your body and return to the peak, just the soul fusion resurrection elixir might not be enough, right? Lu Changsheng asked Wang Lin. Young master, with the soul fusion resurrection elixir, as long as I have a body, I will be able to merge with it and come back to life. However, in such a state, returning to the peak would be almost hopeless. To return to the peak, I must have a suitable body that can match and accommodate my divine soul. Moreover, my divine soul is currently weak. I can only rely on the ancient beast taming charm for nourishment, and to return to the peak and perfectly fuse with a body, my divine soul must also recover to its peak. Wang Lin spoke, her voice tinged with bitterness. With the soul fusion resurrection elixir, resurrection was simple for her. The challenge was returning to her peak strength. If she randomly chose a body and took the soul fusion resurrection elixir, not to mention returning to her peak, even returning to the nascent soul stage would be hopeless. A suitable body? Restoring the divine soul? Hearing this, Lu Changsheng's brows raised and he said, what exactly qualifies as a suitable body? Young master, for example, the bones of a nascent soul cultivator can be used to refine an external incarnation of spiritual objects from heaven and earth, or a body shaped by some heavenly materials and treasures. Wang Lin, knowing that Lu Changsheng was unfamiliar with these details, explained. The bones of a nascent soul cultivator, refining an external incarnation of spiritual objects from heaven and earth, a body shaped by heavenly materials and treasures. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's mouth twitched. He felt that, aside from relying on the system, it was nearly impossible for him to obtain these items at the moment. He spoke, all right, I will keep an eye out for these things for you. Although he wouldn't immediately resurrect Wang Lin even if he had such treasures now, he naturally couldn't speak poorly given her expression of intent. Thank you, young master. Wang Lin's voice was soft and pleasing as she spoke. In addition to the matter of mentoring the children, upon seeing Ling Zixiao still setting up the divine wood great formation by herself, Lu Changsheng promptly asked Wang Lin to assist Ling Zixiao with the formation and exchange knowledge about formations with her in their spare time. After all, as a third-rank array master, Wang Lin's pointers would be greatly beneficial to Ling Zixiao. Chapter 749. The auction begins, Heavenly Longevity Technique Mastered. _1 Before she knew it, more than a month had passed. With Wang Lin present, Lu Miao's guidance on her children's cultivation became much simpler. However, even with Wang Lin, not all of her children started cultivating top-tier cultivation techniques. Most were still cultivating exquisite-level cultivation techniques, and even advanced-level ones. For the majority, unless one had an exceptional talent and a perfect affinity, forcibly cultivating peripheral sect level or even orthodox level top-tier cultivation techniques would yield minimal progress, despite succeeding in the initial stages due to its inefficiency and unworthiness. During this time, Lu Changsheng had no particular arrangements for Su Ruyan. He simply let her serve like a maid, carrying tea and water, massaging and bathing, and occasionally teasing her to add some joy to the mundane days. Since the auction at Red Leaf Valley Market was approaching. On this day, Lu Changsheng, accompanied by his wife Lu Miaohuan and Chu Zhinzhen, his children Lu Pingan, Lu Xianji, Lu Chuanzhen, Lu Qingsong, Lu Wangshu, and others, arrived at Red Leaf Valley Market to attend the auction. Because of the fame of Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, coupled with nearly half a year's build-up by the marketplace, Red Leaf Valley Market had attracted a great number of cultivators, making it much livelier. "You guys go have a look around on your own," Lu Changxing said to Lu Pingan and his siblings as he held onto his daughter Lu Wangshu. Bai Lake Mountain had been in a semi-closed state for over 3 years, and the children had not left during that time. Now that they rarely went out, he naturally let them roam freely. Furthermore, with no movement from Xiaohua in over 3 years, Lu Changxing also planned to lift the semi-closed state of the mountain, allowing some of his children to go out. After all, if Xiaohua did not appear, he couldn't keep his children confined to the family forever. Many of the family's businesses gradually needed the children to start managing them. Moreover, in the past few years, through the collection of talisman-making materials, he had nurtured over a dozen rare third-rank spirit talismans by using the talisman nurturing method. When the time came, he could implant life-saving talismans into some of his children who were going out. "Yes, father." "Thank you, father," the siblings replied to Lu Changxing. Lu Xianxia and Lu Rui, who had lived in Red Leaf Valley Marketplace for a while in the early years, introduced the marketplace to their older brother, younger brother, and sisters. Lu Changxing strolled through the market with his wives, checking on the businesses owned by his family. At that moment, walking through the marketplace, he encountered countless cultivators who showed him respect, admiration, envy, and infatuation. Many young girls and female cultivators' eyes seemed to glisten with water as they glanced at Lu Changxing. If he were willing at that moment, he could probably just signal, and many female cultivators would eagerly offer to become his concubines. This was not because his charm had increased. He had always contained the charm that emanated from him at all times. But as his fame and status grew, so did his charm rise to a whole new level. Lu Changxing arrived at Peace Talisman Hall. Under Gao He's management and Lu Changsheng's reputation, Peace Talisman Hall had become the #1 spirit talisman shop in Red Leaf Valley Market. "Old Gao, you've worked hard these years. If you're thinking of retiring, you can come to Bai Lake Mountain," Lu Changxing said as he saw his old friend Gao He. The two knew each other for more than 2 decades. Gao He, now in his 60s, looked quite elderly with gray hair and numerous wrinkles. His once full face was now thinner, but the traces of his former robustness remained visible. "Thank you for the kind offer, boss," Gao He replied respectfully, looking at the eternally youthful, outstanding man in a blue robe before him. He rarely saw Lu Changxing these years. But with every meeting, as he himself grew older and saw the forever young Lu Changxing, he couldn't help but be filled with emotion. Who could have imagined that the son-in-law of the Lu family, with whom he once bragged and discussed the talisman path, would now become a patriarch of a territory? After briefly discussing the shop situation, Lu Changxing left with his wives and concubines. Upon seeing Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing asked, "Sister Miaoge, how is the collection of materials for your Water of Virtue container and the Tai Chi talisman going?" "The materials for the Water of Virtue container have been gathered. The Tai Chi talisman is still missing 2 components," Lu Miaoge responded softly. However, she would still need an artifact refiner to craft her life-bound spiritual artifact. "After the auction is over, I will craft it for you," Lu Changxing said. Because of the cultivation technique inheritance from the system, he had mastered crafting the life-bound spiritual artifact related to the Water of Virtue technique. He could help Lu Miaoge craft the embryo of the spiritual artifact. "Okay," Lu Miaoge, somewhat astonished, still chose to trust Lu Changxing and nodded in agreement. 5 days later, the auction officially began. Lu Yuanzhong by Yunyang, elder ancestor of the Su family, and many powerful families from the surrounding area, along with a good number of Foundation Establishment Lu's cultivators, came to Red Leaf Valley Market to join the auction. Because the auction had been hyped up for so long, several major families brought out many valuable items. Lu Changxing also took out some second-rank talismans as finale items. "Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord, Madam Lu." Daoist Zhao, Daoist Lin, Daoist Li, Daoist Xiao, Lu Changxing, with his wife and holding his daughter Lu Wangshu, greeted and made small talk with the Foundation Establishment ancestors from other family powers. During this time, he spotted Su Renguang. The man's expression carried a trace of worry. Through casual conversation, Lu Changsheng learned that Su Ringguang was troubled because his granddaughter Su Ruyin had run away from home, which gave Lu Changsheng a peculiar feeling. After all, his granddaughter Su Ruyin was currently acting as a maid in his own home. Thank you all, esteemed seniors and friends, for joining us. Lu Chuanjun, by Yujun, honored to host the auction today. I wish everyone can obtain what they wish for. After the audience nearly filled the venue, a man and a woman stepped onto the stage of the auction. The man was about 20 years old, wearing an elegant blue brocaded robe, with refined and handsome features and long, deep eyes. Chapter 750. The auction begins, Heavenly Longevity Technique Mastered. The girl was around 18 or 19 years old, clad in a white, gorgeous dress, with a slender figure and a sweet, pretty face. Now the Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain was nearly leading the four great families, which was why the auction was hosted by people dispatched by Lu Changsheng. Hence, Lu Changsheng picked among his children and had his son Lu Chuanjun oversee it. As for Bai Yujun, she was a daughter of the Bai family from Hundred Birds Lake. Lu Changsheng felt it somewhat improper for his family to have full control over the entire process. By having the Bai family arrange for someone to appear, it would just so happen to make a paired set with one male and one female. Husband, this young lady looks quite a match for Chuanjun. Chu Zhenzhen, standing nearby, saw her son with the Bai family girl on stage, and excitement flashed across her face. She had always been urging her son, Lu Chuanjun, to marry. But her son avoided her every day, which led her to try matchmaking whenever she saw him near any girl. Hee. Lu Changsheng did not wish to get involved in this topic, because if he responded to Chu Zhenzhen even briefly, she would surely act coquettishly and have him go and work on Lu Quanzhen's mindset. Caught between being both a husband and a father, he found himself in a difficult position. Mom, brother really doesn't want to get married. If you say something, he will just avoid you even more, and it's still early. Lu Caizhen put an arm around her mother's and spoke in defense of her brother. After all, Lu Chuanjun was somewhat stern on normal days, but he was extremely caring towards his younger brothers and sisters. What do you mean it's early? Your Yun brother is a year younger than Chuanjun, and he already has 3 children. And you're not young anymore either, you can't be like your brother. Chu Zhenzhen said somewhat grievously. Hearing this, Lu Caizhen's head shrank, and she immediately went quiet, fearing the fire might be drawn to herself. Sisters Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan nearby both smiled at this scene. Watching Lu Chuanjun hosting the auction on stage brought Lu Miaohuan to think of her eldest son, Lu Qingshan. Compared to her somewhat more honest younger son, Lu Qingsong, she favored the normally mischievous Lu Qingshan more. After all, her son might be naughty, but he brought joy to their daily lives, often cheerfully brightening up his mother's mood. Moreover, she hadn't seen this son for nearly 5 years. Huan, what's wrong? Lu Changsheng, with his keen perception, noticed that his wife, Lu Miaohuan, suddenly seemed a bit downcast. It's nothing. Lu Miaohuan came back to her senses and spoke softly. Even though she longed to visit her son at the Jinyang sect in Yu country, she knew the current family circumstances prevented Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge from leaving. Lu Changsheng held her delicate and fair hand without uttering a word, knowing that Lu Miaohuan missed her son Lu Qingshan. Over the years, Lu Miaohuan often found herself thinking of this son. The first item for auction, War Beast Puppet, crafted by our Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, is a first-grade top-quality item, capable of offense and defense, with excellent speed, and inscribed with several techniques. At this moment, Lu Chuanjun had started to introduce the first item up for auction. This was a puppet crafted by the Blue Lake Mountain Puppet Workshop. However, it couldn't yet be mass-produced, so it was being used for promotional purposes, to build a reputation. Chuanjun is doing quite well, his management of his first auction is orderly and composed. Lu Miaoge voiced her praise. Chuanjun indeed handles this aspect very well. I was planning to have Xianji take charge, but in such occasions his personality makes him too rigid and prone to stage fright. Lu Changxing, reclining on a soft chair, nodded in agreement. Chu Zhenzhen, as a mother, beamed with happiness when she heard her son being praised. Besides not listening to her teachings in other aspects, Her son indeed gave her peace of mind, which made her proud. Especially the way he treated his younger brothers and sisters regularly reminded her of her own elder brother, Chu Chang'e. Time passed bit by bit. The auction was divided into 3 sessions and lasted 3 days before concluding, and the scale was anything but small. But the Red Leaf Valley market was, after all, just an auction held by a few foundation establishment families, so the grade of the auction items was limited. Lu Changxing didn't think it was appropriate to offer 2 rare items. For example, the treasure map he prepared for auction. After some deliberation, he decided against auctioning it. Otherwise, he only needed to produce a single foundation establishment elixir and start advertising the treasure maps, and the auction might have been 10 times busier. After the auction ended, Lu Changxing and the other 3 families had already negotiated to open some beneficial regulations for the market, trying their best to retain some of the traffic. Also, after the auction, Lu Changxing and the ancestral figures of other families, as well as loose cultivators at the foundation establishment level, held a trade meeting. Even though he didn't find what he wanted, he managed to gather the 2 materials needed for Lu Miaoge to refine her life-bound spiritual artifact, the Tai Chi talisman. Father-in-law, how is the situation with the foundation establishment at home progressing? Upon seeing Lu Yuanding, Lu Changxing asked about the foundation establishment at Qingzhou Mountain. The family recently spent a significant sum to purchase a earth-fire essence. Mu Ping has a fire spiritual root and switched to practicing the greenwood solar flame technique, so this earth-fire essence suits him well. Moreover, Miao Feng, due to past events, is also considering making concessions, planning to go out and try his luck on his own. Lu Yuanding said with a slight sigh. He too was quite troubled about the foundation establishment for these 2 individuals. Lu Miaofeng had a 4th grade spiritual root and had already attempted foundation establishment once, making his odds of breaking through considerably higher. But due to his previous foundation establishment failure, Lu Miaofeng might encounter a heart demon, feel excessive pressure, fear another failure, and disappoint the family expectations. Compared to Lu Miaofeng, Lu Muping was only 40 years old and even younger. Lu Changxing nodded, without interjecting further. Since the chances of both individuals breaking through to foundation establishment were closely matched, Qingzhou Mountain was more concerned about the situation than he was. Chapter 751. The auction begins, Heavenly Longevity Technique Mastered. With the auction fully concluded, Lu Changxing also prepared to return to Bai Lake Mountain with his wife and children. Father. At this time, Lu Chuanjin expressed to Lu Changxing that he wished to leave home to gain experience and venture out into the world. To go out and gain experience? Lu Changxing frowned slightly upon hearing this. He had long known that this son of his harbored a desire to travel and adventure. If it weren't for the establishment of Bai Lake Mountain and being called back home by himself, he probably would have gone out long ago. Wait until you break through to the 6th level energy refinement. Lu Changxing looked at his son in front of him, speaking after a slight pause. He could understand his children wanting to leave home for experience, not willing to settle within the family. After all, most members of big families were clear about one thing: if they settled within the family, without venturing out for experience, it was highly unlikely to achieve foundation establishment in their lifetimes unless they had exceptional talent. Even though the conditions at Bai Lake Mountain were far superior to those of Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, Wugong Ridge, and even the Yushui Su family and other family powers, they still couldn't train many of their children to achieve foundation establishment. At most, they could train them up to the energy refinement late stage. To establish a foundation would still be up to them. And Lu Chuanjin obviously saw this point. He knew his own spiritual route was not good, just an 8th grade spiritual route, so he had planned his life's path early on. However, in Lu Changsheng's view, a cultivation level at the 5th level energy refinement was still a bit too low. When he reached the 6th level, if his son still wanted to go out, he would give him a life-saving spirit talisman. Many thanks, father. Upon hearing this, Lu Chuanjin immediately responded with respect. He knew that if his father agreed to it, then the matter was settled. Use this time to prepare your mother mentally, don't just run off without saying a word. Lu Changxing said as he patted his son's shoulder. The fledgling eagle must spread its wings. If this son did not have his own opinions and the desire to venture out, in his heart, he would have actually been inclined to hand over the position of family head to him. Given the personalities of Lu Pingan, Lu Xianji, and Lu Yun, they did not quite suit the role of by Lake Mountain family head. Father, you know that if I tell mother, she definitely won't agree, so I can only trouble you with this. Lu Chuanjun, with a handsome face, showed a helpless and bitter smile. Sigh, just be a bit more accommodating to your mother, that's all, don't constantly avoid her. The more you avoid her, the more she'll worry. If it really comes to it, just tell her that on this trip to gain experience, you'll also keep an eye out for a woman you love. Lu Changxing shook his head as he spoke. He too had often been troubled by Chu Zhenjin urging Lu Chuanjun to get married. Yes, I understand, father. Lu Chuanjun smiled, making the corners of his eyes seem more elongated. His facial features were similar to Lu Changsheng's by 70%, but his eyebrows and eyes were inherited from his mother, especially when he smiled. After returning to Bai Lake Mountain with his wives and children, Lu Changsheng briefly dealt with some family affairs and his children's situations before returning to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. My lord! Su Ruyin, in a flaring red dress with a fine and stunning face, immediately greeted Lu Changxing with great respect upon seeing him. I encountered your grandfather at the auction. He's very worried about your situation. Lu Changxing said with a light smile. Grandfather? Su Ruyin's delicate body trembled violently when she heard this. Having been in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven for so long, what concerned her the most was the situation back home. She said with downcast eyes, Thank you, my lord, for informing me. When you left home, did you say anything about when you would return? Lu Changsheng's voice was gentle as he wrapped his arms around her slender, snake-like waist and drew her into his embrace, asking softly. The action and his concerned tone made Su Ruyin's heart tremble. If it wasn't for knowing another side of Lu Changxing, she would have found herself unable to resist falling for him in such close quarters. Sometimes, she even wondered if the outcome would be different if she hadn't resorted to stealing and instead had chosen to marry Lu Changxing proactively. Nothing. Su Ruyin tensed slightly, her delicate body leaning obediently against Lu Changsheng's chest, letting his strong arms enfold her. She knew that to win Lu Changsheng's favor, she had to appear docile and obedient in front of him. You have a life token, a soul lamp, and such items at home, don't you? Lu Changxing sat down on a bamboo chair nearby, embracing her graceful figure and twirling a strand of her fiery red, crystal-clear hair between two fingers. The silky smooth texture of Su Ruyin's hair was very comforting to touch, something he often played with. Moreover, over the course of more than a month under his tutelage, she had gradually begun to nuzzle his palm on her own initiative, like a docile kitten, giving him an intense sense of achievement. It could only be said that bullying women was also in a man's nature. Yes, Su Ruyin murmured softly. Despite the humiliation and the control over her movements now, she sadly found herself gradually becoming accustomed to it. Since you have a life token and a soul lamp, your family won't worry. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly. After teasing Su Ruyin for a while, he entered the Changxing Hall's cave dwelling and began to craft a spiritual artifact embryo for Lu Miaoge. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. On this day, as usual, Lu Miaoyun came to the back mountain of the Lingxiu cliff. She took out the formation command given to her by Ling Zixiao, stepped into the formation, and looked at the luminous treasure tree before her. Heavenly longevity technique, refine. Lu Miaoyun sat cross-legged in front of the luminous treasure tree, her hands forming seals, using her internal spiritual power to refine the luminous treasure tree in front of her. To say it was refining was actually more akin to merging. Because after more than a year of refinement, she had already established a connection with the luminous treasure tree, the two almost becoming one. She could even vaguely sense the emotions of the luminous treasure tree. Now the task was to completely refine the luminous treasure tree, making it her life-bound spiritual root, merging completely with her. As she refined the luminous treasure tree, a surge of qi from the tree rushed into Lu Miaoyun's body. What's this? Lu Miaoyun suddenly felt her spiritual power uncontrollably pouring out of her, being devoured by the luminous treasure tree. In the past, it was always her nourishing the luminous treasure tree with her spiritual power. But this time, the luminous treasure tree actively devoured her spiritual power, causing her complexion to turn pale. Lu Miaoyun, realizing something, immediately took out several spirit stones from her storage bag to recover her spiritual power. At the same time, she poured out a bottle of spiritual liquid for the luminous treasure tree. Buzz. Just as Lu Miaoyun's spiritual power was nearly drained by the luminous treasure tree, a mysterious and subtle vibration surged into her heart, making her whole person feel light and clear. Hoo hoo hoo! A torrent of spiritual mechanism emerged from the luminous treasure tree, enveloping Lu Miaoyun completely, beckoning countless nature's spiritual energies to roll towards her and enter her body. Boom! In an instant, Lu Miaoyun's body shook violently, and a breeze swept around her. The bottleneck she had faced for years, from the 6th level energy refinement to the 7th level energy refinement, was broken in that moment. But it didn't stop there. A rich essence of plants and trees, the origin source from the luminous treasure tree, continued to pour into her body. Chapter 752. The Effect of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, Heading to the White Jade Tower. _1 atop by Yun Peak. Ling Zixiao was with Su Ruyan, arranging the Divine Wood Great Formation. Sensing the spiritual energy of Lingcue Cliff and the operation of the formation, her expression became slightly focused. She immediately stopped setting up the formation and flew towards Lingcue Cliff to check the situation. Is this, the Heaven and Earth Longevity Technique, successful? After Ling Zixiao arrived at the back mountain of Lingcue Cliff, she saw Lu Miaoyun and the luminous treasure tree enveloped in a mist of spiritual mechanisms, seemingly as one entity. Although she had seen the Heaven and Earth Longevity Technique before, she did not know the specific effects of its refinement. Moreover, since this cultivation technique involved refining different nature's spirit plants into one's life-bound spiritual root, results could vary significantly. She immediately took out a yin-yang sensing talisman to have Lu Changxing come over and take a look. Changxing Hall, in the retreat cave dwelling. The Heaven and Earth Longevity Technique has succeeded? Lu Changxing was in the process of refining a spiritual artifact embryo when he received Ling Zixiao's message. He immediately got up, left Mount Sumuru Cave Heaven, and came to Lingcue Cliff. There he saw Lu Miaoyun sitting cross-legged, inhaling and exhaling the surrounding spiritual energy of nature. At this moment, she and the luminous treasure tree's mechanisms were merged, indistinguishable from each other. Zixiao gathers spiritual energy, Lu Changxing said directly to Ling Zixiao, instructing her to converge the surrounding spiritual energy towards Lingcue Cliff. He also took out several middle-grade spirit stones from his storage bag, crushing them to release the rich spiritual energy within. He could tell that Lu Miaoyun was likely in the process of refining the luminous treasure tree into her life-bound spiritual root. However, because the growth grade of the spirit plant was quite high and Lu Miaoyun's cultivation level was too low, she received nourishment from the spirit tree, causing a breakthrough in her cultivation level. Good. Ling Zixiao nodded, took out an array plate, pinched a spell, and drew the spiritual energy from all around Lingcue Cliff towards them. Hoo hoo hoo! As the spiritual energy of nature entered her body, Lu Miaoyun's cultivation level, after breaking through the 7th level energy refinement, climbed step by step. After about half a day, her cultivation level broke through from the 7th level energy refinement to the 8th level energy refinement. Could Miaoyun possibly be going for a direct breakthrough to foundation establishment? Ling Zixiao looked at the situation unfolding before her and said with a light smile. Likely not. Judging from this turbulence, it's not enough for a breakthrough to foundation establishment. Lu Changxing shook his head and said. The current activity, although not minor, was still far from the level required for a foundation establishment breakthrough. It was simply not comparable. Another day passed, and Lu Miaoyun's cultivation level broke through from the 8th level energy refinement to the 9th level energy refinement. After breaking through to the 9th level energy refinement, the spiritual mechanisms emanating from the luminous treasure tree and the spiritual energy of nature continued, but the movements gradually diminished. Husband, Sister Zixiao, A day later, Lu Miaoyun opened her eyes and, filled with joy, looked at Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao before her. Her face appeared much younger at this moment, and she exuded vitality from head to toe, giving a sense of vibrancy. Congratulations to my Miaoyun on mastering the heaven and earth longevity technique, a promising future on the path of immortality. A smile spread across Lu Changsheng's face as he congratulated his wife. Usually, Lu Miaoyun and others would be the ones offering congratulations to her. It was rare for her to congratulate her wife. Congratulations, Miaoyun. Ling Zixiao also said with a beaming smile while taking a closer look at Lu Miaoyun's condition. When Lu Miaoga had her foundation establishment breakthrough, both her appearance and temperament underwent a dramatic change, as if she was reborn. Lu Miaoyun was no exception at this moment. Not only did she look much younger, but she also seemed like a precious tree of verdant greenery, making the air around her feel all the fresher. Thank you, husband, and thank you, Sister Zixiao. If it weren't for my husband and Sister Zixiao, how could I have perfected this technique? Lu Miaoyun said this while looking at Lu Changxing, her eyes filled with tenderness and affection. Without Lu Changxing, she would have found it difficult to cultivate to the 9th level energy refinement in her lifetime. But now, under Lu Changsheng's arrangement, she cultivated the heaven and earth longevity technique, refining the luminous treasure tree into her life-bound spiritual root and directly breaking through to the 9th level energy refinement. Moreover, she could clearly sense that she and the luminous treasure tree were perfectly integrated. With the passage of time and the changing of seasons, as the luminous treasure tree grew, the origin of plants and trees would continuously enter her body, as if she herself were cultivating. Now, foundation establishment was only a matter of time for her. Yuner, after you practice this technique, do you feel any changes? Lu Changxing asked Lu Miaoyun. The heaven and earth longevity technique was the only top-tier technique in the family that was learned from outside, so his understanding of it was limited. I feel like I've formed a profound connection with the luminous treasure tree, merging into one entity, and able to slightly control the tree, she replied. However, once I move away from the tree, the connection between us gradually weakens and eventually breaks, resulting in the failure of the technique, she continued. Moreover, the spiritual power inside me has transformed from the original greenwood art, now completely into the botanical force of the heaven and earth longevity technique. Lu Miaoyun began to describe her current state, indicating that after perfecting the heaven and earth longevity technique, her lifespan had noticeably increased. However, due to the conversion of her spiritual power into the botanical force of the heaven and earth longevity technique, her spiritual strength had weakened considerably, primarily geared towards nurturing. It was difficult to increase her cultivation realm through elixir medicines. It could only be gradually raised through the growth of the luminous treasure tree. The advantage of this spiritual power was its ability to preserve her looks, beautify, and nourish both her physical body and soul. Even as she aged, her body would remain vigorous and her condition would not significantly decline. Additionally, she gained insight into how to cultivate the luminous treasure tree so that it would grow as quickly as possible. And she could spend her origin source to make the luminous treasure tree quickly condense the luminous sweet dew, without having to wait for the 30-year growth cycle. It's good that there are no side effects, Lu Changxing remarked. As for the luminous sweet dew, if you have time, Yuner, you could try to accelerate its formation and see how effective it is. Chapter 753. The Effect of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, Heading to the White Jade Tower. Lu Changxing smiled as he spoke. The only thing he was worried about was the Heavenly Longevity Technique. Besides the few issues mentioned above, there might be other side effects. Okay, Lu Miaoyun nodded gently in agreement. Let's go. To celebrate Yuner's successful cultivation of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, we should celebrate properly. Lu Changxing stepped forward, took his wife's hand, and laughed. Then he returned to Bai Yun Peak and instructed a family banquet to be held in celebration of Lu Miaoyun. Although the wives and children at home didn't know what was happening, many sensed the earlier situation at Ling Sui Cliff. Seeing the changes in Lu Miaoyun's appearance and temperament, everyone guessed and congratulated her aloud. Lu Miaohuan and Chu Zhenzhen were aware of the situation concerning the Heavenly Longevity Technique. Seeing the changes in Lu Miao's appearance and temperament, a touch of envy inevitably showed deep in their eyes. Although they didn't have much desire to pursue foundation establishment, as women, they all had a love for beauty. Moreover, the effects described by the heavenly longevity technique were tantalizing. The notion of automatic cultivation was undoubtedly tempting. Lu Changxing keenly sensed this, sighing slightly in his heart. Now, if anyone in the family wanted to continue practicing the heavenly longevity technique, new spirit plants were needed from heaven and earth, and the spirit vein under Bai Shui Lake had to advance to second rank, otherwise, it would be difficult to afford the consumption. The parasitic spirit plants nurtured by Mount Sumeru should be able to grow directly from Mount Sumeru, right? Lu Changxing pondered. However, nurturing a parasitic spirit plant would consume a large amount of Mount Sumerus vitality, something he was reluctant to do for the time being. Late at night. Afterwards. Lu Changxing hugged the plump and fair-skinned Lu Miaoyun, covered in glistening sweat, a hint of astonishment in his eyes. He found that after dual cultivating with Lu Miaoyun, his clarity of mind and vision slightly improved. Although the sensation was weak and hard to detect, this wasn't their first time dual cultivating, so he was particularly sensitive to it. It made him think of the effects of the luminous sweet dew condensed by the luminous treasure tree. Applying the luminous sweet dew on the eyes could sharpen one's vision, enhancing spiritual eye-related techniques and divine skills. Husband, what's wrong? Lu Miaoyun lazily lay in Lu Changxing's arms, her bewitching eyes soft, her cheeks flushed, and she asked in a gentle voice. Just now, I felt as if I experienced a slight improvement in mental clarity and vision, Lu Changxing said softly. Then he pinned his wife beneath him again, ready to repeat the process several times, to determine if it was an illusion. Accompanied by soft moans, after several rounds of exertion, Lu Changxing was sure it was not an illusion. Indeed, after dual cultivating with Lu Miaoyun, there was a slight effect on mental clarity and vision. However, this boost was almost negligible for him, and it would probably take many years to see a noticeable effect. Lu Changxing didn't mind this and treated it as a little extra spice to their intimate moments. Half a month later. Sister Miaoga, this is your Tai True water bottle. From now on, you can temper it with your own mana and sculpt it, Lu Changxing said. That day, Lu Miaoga came back and used Tai True water to nourish Ling Zixio's meridians and Dantian. Lu Changxing took out a bottle that appeared to be carved from mutton fat jade. It was the prototype of the Tai True water bottle. Thank you, husband. Seeing this, Lu Miaoga took the Tai True water bottle, her beautiful eyes shining with joy. Though the bottle had no offensive capabilities, it was effective for defense, breaking spells, protection, and storing Tai True water. Ordinary vessels couldn't store the Tai True water she condensed. But with the Tai True water bottle, she could store and even refine it. This was also the reason she chose to first refine the Tai True water bottle, rather than a Tai Chi talisman. Lu Changxing looked at the elegant and extraordinarily beautiful Lu Miaoga in front of him, dressed in a white gown purer than snow, her demeanor otherworldly, with a transcendent aura, and he stroked his chin. Changxing, what is it? Lu Miaoga, seeing Lu Changxing suddenly scrutinize her like that, was somewhat puzzled. Sister Miaoga, stay here and don't move, wait for me, Lu Changxing said, before stepping out of the Mount Sumeru space, leaving the perplexed Lu Miaoga and Ling Zixiao behind. Shortly after, Lu Changxing returned to Changxing Hall, holding a branch shining like gold and jade. The branch was decorated with vibrant, emerald green leaves, full of life. Under the astonished gaze of both women, Lu Changxing placed the branch he had picked from the Mount Sumeru Tree King into Lu Miao's Tai True water bottle and then nodded in satisfaction. Changxing, what are you doing? Lu Miaoga was clueless why Lu Changxing put a branch into her Tai True water bottle. Sister Miaoga, this is a branch from Mount Sumeru. It has calming and spirit-cleansing effects, which will be beneficial for you to keep close for a long time, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Moreover, by storing Tai True water in the bottle, you can also nourish this branch, which will be helpful for you. He had suddenly decided to give Lu Miaoga a branch to add to her jade bottle simply because he saw his wife in a pure white robe, her aura sacred, carrying a clear jade bottle, which reminded him of a character from his previous life. He thought it would be nicer to add something to the bottle. As it turned out, the addition of the branch did indeed lend a divine touch to the jade bottle in Lu Maiage's hand. If there was anything missing, it was indeed a cinnabar mole. If a cinnabar mole was added to Lu Maiage's brow, combined with her holy disposition that seemed to embrace all things, it would be even more provocative. Okay, Lu Miaoge didn't overthink it, assuming it was a thoughtful gesture from Lu Changxing, and happily agreed with a tone of indulgence. However, Ling Zixiao detected a bit of oddity, though she didn't express it. After all, with the addition of the branch to the bottle, it indeed looked far more colorful and attractive. Before long, another month had passed. During this month, Lu Changsheng's concubine became pregnant, bringing the total number of his children to 170. Chapter 754. The Effect of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, Heading to the White Jade Tower. Reflecting on his efficiency in childbearing over the past few years, Lu Changxing exhaled and prepared to visit the White Jade Tower. In the early years when his family was just established and Ling Zixiao was grievously injured, with Xiao Xia holding the fort at home, he really couldn't bring himself to visit the White Jade Tower. Moreover, the ordinary maids sold by the White Jade Tower all had lower-grade spiritual roots, which he no longer found impressive. To acquire maids with middle-grade or superior-grade spiritual roots, one had to either be a member or attend an auction. And now, it just so happened to be the day of the White Jade Tower's triennial auction. So, Lu Changxing was preparing to broaden his horizons. He wanted to see what the auction at the White Jade Tower was like and whether it could meet his needs. 3 days later, after informing Ling Zixiao, Lu Changxing secretly left by Lake Mountain and headed to the Nine Dragons Market. Considering his status as an elder of his family, Lu Changxing slightly disguised his facial features and identity. After arriving at the White Jade Tower, he learned that the auction list wouldn't arrive for another half a month. And the auction was not an open one but a secret bid. Because the reach of the White Jade Tower was too broad. This auction was not just in the Nine Dragons Square, but throughout the entire Jiang country cultivation realm. Therefore, the White Jade Tower couldn't host such a large auction and had to proceed through a secret bidding process. Moreover, most cultivators didn't wish to show their faces at such auctions. Lu Changxing didn't mind this and decided to stroll around the Nine Dragons Market. By Lake Mountain had several businesses in the Nine Dragons Market, but the business here could only be considered average. It hadn't picked up. In the process, Lu Changxing saw the Jade Meal Pavilion, once belonging to his old friend Yu Maocheng. But because of his issues with the Yu family, the Jade Meal Pavilion had changed hands, and Yu Maocheng and his wife Yu Ningrong had left. Sigh. Lu Changxing let out a sigh. The couple had worked hard in the Nine Dragons Market for many years, and their life was initially stable and good. But because of his incident with the Yu family, which led to their downfall, they chose to transfer the shop and leave the Nine Dragons Market, living in anonymity. Yun Qianxian and Yu Ningrong used to correspond through letters, but after the incident with the Yu family colluding with the demon path, their relationship broke off, leaving no more letters exchanged. Half a month later, Lu Changxing arrived at the White Jade Tower and looked at the auction list before him. There were a total of 108 maids for auction, each with their appearance, situation information, and starting bid price. Number 1, 27 years old, 8th level energy refinement, 3rd grade spiritual root, starting bid, 10 superior grade spirit stones. Number 2, 32 years old, 9th level energy refinement, 3rd grade spiritual root, starting bid, 10 superior grade spirit stones. Number 3, 41 years old, 9th level energy refinement, 3rd grade spiritual root, starting bid, 10 superior grade spirit stones. Indeed worthy of the White Jade Tower, such moves to actually have 3 with superior grade spiritual roots, Lu Changxing commented as he roughly looked over the information on the auction list. Through their names, one could quickly check their appearance. He took a brief look at these 3 individuals, not to say they were national beauties, but they were certainly of high caliber. After all, most wouldn't be too ugly after entering cultivation. Furthermore, all were trained by the White Jade Tower. Even if originally of average looks, they would be taught beautifying and rejuvenating cultivation techniques. Although he was quite tempted by such prospects, he didn't really have the intention to bid. Too expensive. The starting bid alone was 10 superior grade spirit stones, which is to say 100,000 lower grade spirit stones. This price had already far exceeded his current spending capacity. Even though his business of selling symbols and refining elixirs was highly profitable, he still had limited financial resources when facing this kind of expenditure. And this was just the starting price. Compared to superior grade spiritual roots, the price of 4th grade spiritual roots dropped to a much more affordable level. The cheapest starting bid was only 30,000 spirit stones. The highest starting bid was just 50,000 spirit stones, which was half the price of 3rd grade spiritual roots. Then, for 5th grade spiritual roots, the price was halved again, with a starting bid between 10,000 and 20,000. The starting bids for 6th grade spiritual roots ranged from 5,000 to 10,000. Inside, there were many more maids with lower grade spiritual roots. Those who could enter the auction with lower grade spiritual roots were either top choices in looks and figure or had exceptional talents in some areas. Therefore, even the cheapest with 9th grade spiritual roots had a starting price of 1,000 spirit stones. After roughly reviewing, Lu Changxing inquired about the usual closing prices for these auctions in previous years. The administrator told him that for lower grade spiritual roots, the competition wasn't too fierce. Bids generally went 20% higher than the base price, and one was likely to win the bid. Competition for a few with superior grade spiritual roots was much fiercer. Because these served as the highlight of the White Jade Tower's auctions, many people competed for them. As to why the competition was so fierce, the administrator named Xia didn't delve into details. But Lu Changxing had a rough idea. Geniuses with superior grade spiritual roots were very useful. Besides the most common uses as furnaces or breeding, there were more brutal methods, such as cultivating corpses, or after raising them, using some demon path methods to seize their spiritual roots, or even waiting until they established a foundation to snatch their Dao foundation. After all, with superior grade spiritual roots, as long as one is willing to invest time, with a bit of cultivation, establishing a foundation is highly likely. Sigh, save whoever I can, Lu Changxing sighed. Looking into the eyes of these women, which shone with no glimmer of hope, he knew what they had endured. Most of them were ill-fated. Even after so many years in the cultivation world, he still hadn't changed his soft-hearted nature. Calculating the spirit stones he had available for discretionary spending, Lu Changxing finally set a budget of 50,000 spirit stones for himself. Because any more than that, and he would have to sell too many spirit stones and elixirs. Immediately, Lu Changxing placed bids on 3 5th grade spiritual roots and 1 6th grade spiritual root. All were relatively low-priced, but he marked them up by about 40%. To ensure a significant chance of acquiring them, he just managed to spend the 50,000 spirit stones. For the current auction, deposits had to be paid up front, and it would be a month before the secret bidding came to an end and notifications would be sent out. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't wait in the 9 Dragons market. After paying the deposits, he returned to buy Lake Mountain. Because this year marked the Lu family's annual Grand Assembly. And this year, he planned to finalize the position of the family head at the Grand Assembly and start sending some of his children to manage the businesses outside the family. Chapter 755. Heaven Rank Demon Plant, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. _1 by Lake Mountain. Lu Family Mansion, Council Hall. At present, the family has 316 members, 3 Foundation Establishment Cultivators, 4 at the Energy Refinement Late Stage, 34 at the Energy Refinement Middle Stage, 16 at the Energy Refinement Initial Stage. Lu Changxing sat in the main seat, listening calmly to his wife Lu Miao's summary. Unconsciously, the number of members in his Lu family had already surpassed 300. Moreover, out of the 316 family members, there were 57 cultivators. This ratio was truly astonishing. The reason there were so many cultivators, particularly in the Qi refinement middle stage, was entirely because his 21 wives and concubines were all at this cultivation level. As for the children, 13 had currently broken through to the Qi refinement middle stage, and 16 were at the qi refinement initial stage. This year's income totaled 31,143, expenditures totaled 35,665, with family stipends accounting for 70% of the expenses, Lu Miaoyun continued to report. Inside the hall, everyone felt somewhat heavy-hearted upon hearing that there was a deficit once again, without a profit. After all, for more than 4 years, Bai Lake Mountain had remained in a state of loss without reversing the situation to a profit. The main reason for the losses, the major expenses, was something all those present were well aware of. Lu Changxing himself felt rather unconcerned by this, thinking that to have such a result over 4 years wasn't too bad. After all, in his view, expenditures on starting a family and having children were essential, and in the long run, they were definitely profitable. However, these family expenses did not take into account the costs of the Divine Wood Great Formation, the Oceanic Formation, training Dao soldiers, and so on. Otherwise, the expenses would be even more exaggerated. There has been improvement in the income compared to last year, aiming to break even next year. Lu Changsheng chuckled, tapped the table, and said, "Next, I have 2 matters to discuss. For the past few years, our family has been in a semi-secluded state which made many businesses inconvenient to manage. Therefore, starting from this year, Lu family disciples who reach the age of 18 and break through to the 4th level energy refinement can apply to go out and manage business ventures." Lu Changsheng looked toward his wives and children and said aloud, "Apply to go out and manage business ventures?" Some of the Lu family disciples exchanged glances, their eyes shining with joy. Although no one complained during the 4 years of seclusion, some Lu family disciples still had some discontent in their hearts. After all, at their age, they were in the prime of their life, full of yearning for the outside world and naturally wanted to explore more. Not to mention traveling and gaining experience, growing up in Qingzhou Mountain and Bai Lake Mountain with many rules and constraints at home, they would feel bored and long for the outside world. Moreover, many wives and children realized that this was another opportunity to perform well after hearing these words. As for going out for practice, one must reach the 6th level energy refinement to apply. Lu Changxing continued. Lu Chuanjin had previously expressed the desire to venture out for practice, and certainly, he wasn't the only one with such thoughts. Therefore, he also directly set the rule, fixing the cultivation level at the 6th level energy refinement. For the children in the family at present, this level was neither high nor low, generally around 25 years old, and they also had a certain level of experience. Finally, it is about the matter of the family head. Lu Changxing looked down at his children and said aloud. Currently, the family affairs were divided finely, with everyone having specific duties, and Lu Miaoyun generally coordinated the handling of trivial matters. Some major decisions, on the other hand, were made by him and Ling Zixiao. But now that the family had decided to open the mountain gate, whether it was dealing with family trifles or business, or interacting with other families, there needed to be one person, that is, the patriarch of the Lu family. The family head. Upon hearing these words, many concubines and children looked surprised and exchanged glances, turning their eyes to Lu Pingan, Lu Chuanjin, and Lu Yun. Although the Lu family did not emphasize too much the difference between legitimate and illegitimate children, still, in the eyes of many concubines and children, there was a distinction. After all, although Lu Changxing treated all his children equally in terms of welfare and treatment, in everyday life, he still had obvious favorites. Lu Pingan, Lu Chuanjin, and Lu Yun were born to his first wife, and being relatively older, they were favored by Lu Changxing, so most people guessed that the choice of family head would be from among them. Now, our Lu family's first family head will be Lu Yun. Lu Changxing did not hold a vote but directly looked at his son Lu Yun and spoke. The choice of Lu Yun was partly because his sons Lu Pingan and Lu Chuanjin had no intention of taking on the role of family head. Another reason was capability. Lu Yun, despite lacking decisiveness and boldness, performed well under the guidance of Lu Miaoyun. As family head, with the help of his mother Lu Miaoyun in the early stages, he would at least not create any problems. Besides, this son did have his strong points. At least diligent and obedient, he was a role model in terms of marrying and having children. He already had a wife, 3 concubines, and 3 children to his name, although he could not compare with his own father. But amongst his children with spiritual roots, he was doing quite well. Thank you, father. Your son will definitely not fail your expectations, nor those of everyone. Upon hearing this, Lu Yun took a deep breath and got up, bowing with excitement and nervousness. Although the role of family head in a cultivation family differed from that in the secular world, becoming family head was equivalent to almost giving up on the path to immortality, as much time had to be spent on daily trivial matters, with little hope of reaching foundation establishment. However, the status and power of the family head were undeniable. Congratulations, Brother Yun. Congratulations, Yunji. Greetings to the family head. Some immediately congratulated Lu Yun. Perform well. The position of the family head is a 5-year term, serving a maximum of 4 terms. I will judge based on the performance of each term, rewarding good service abundantly and allowing continuation in the position. If not done well, then the person will be replaced. Understand? Chapter 756, Heaven Rank Demon Plant, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Lu Changsheng spoke out. He chose Lu Yun to be the family head not only because of Lu Miao's role but also due to the limited selection of sons and daughters currently available in the family. If Lu Yun truly lacked the capacity and was unsuitable, he would replace him all the same, picking someone else from among the children. After all, in his eyes, there really was no significant distinction between legitimacy and illegitimacy when it came to the position of family head. Capability was the main criterion. Yes, father. Lu Yun took a deep breath and nodded in agreement. He had long been aware of these matters, having been forewarned by his mother, Lu Miaoyan, and was mentally prepared. This family clan meeting is now concluded. If you have any other matters, you can come directly to me, Lu Changsheng announced, looking at his wives and children. Yes, husband, father. Everyone in the hall stood up and respectfully replied. Immediately after, Lu Changsheng left the hall with a few of his wives. With the family clan meeting over, Bai Lake Mountain was bustling with activity. During this time, Lu Changsheng also spent time with his wives and children, discussing arrangements for sending out the family youths. After all, when sending out the children, priority was given to picking marketplaces like Red Leaf Valley Market and 9 Dragons Market, which were close to Bai Lake Mountain. Besides that, he had Hong Lian craft identity tokens for the family. This allowed all Lu family disciples to sense each other's presence through the jade tokens, communicate, call for help, verify identities, and so on when they were outside. Moreover, during this period he spent even more time nurturing the 3rd-rank treasure talismans prepared for his children. Young master, how do you like this design? That day, Su Ruyan handed Lu Changsheng the crafted identity token. The token was roughly the width of 3 fingers, made like gleaming gold and jade, with hints of emerald green at the edges. One side bore a depiction of mountain and sea scenery, while on the other side, there was a Lu character, extravagant yet with a touch of simplicity. This token could sense the presence of others within 100 miles and enable simple communication over 1,000 miles. If Lu Changsheng wished, he could use the infinite pursuit technique learned from Hong Lian to locate the position of the tokens. Not bad. Just make a distinguishing mark on each token for simple identification, Lu Changsheng said after examining it for a moment, instructing Hong Lian to make a simple mark on the side with the Lu character and deciding thus. 13 youths of the family met the qualifications to venture out, but currently only 6 had applied to do so, so he wasn't in a hurry about crafting the tokens. Given Hong Lian's pace of crafting 1 every 3 to 5 days, that was more than enough. Once he had roughly arranged and dealt with family matters, Lu Changsheng remembered that the auction at White Jade Tower was nearly concluded. He then took a trip outside, heading for the White Jade Tower in 9 Dragons Market. Young Master Yi, please come inside. The 4 maids you put up for auction at our White Jade Tower, except for number 66 which failed to sell, numbers 69, 77, and 98 were all successfully auctioned. Do you confirm this, young Master Yi? The manager of White Jade Tower eagerly said upon seeing Lu Changsheng. In 9 Dragons Market, anyone who could spend nearly 50,000 spirit stones on maids was undoubtedly a major client, so he was treated with great enthusiasm. Number 66 failed, At this, Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow but didn't seem overly concerned. He promptly paid the balance for the remaining 3 maids. Since the 3 maids were to be transported from other locations by White Jade Tower, that would require more than a month. Lu Changsheng made the necessary arrangements and left, indicating that he would come to pick them up when the time came and there was no need for them to be delivered to his home. In the blink of an eye, over a month passed. These are the life-saving talismans I've crafted for you. Dab a drop of blood from your forehead and essence blood on it. If you encounter a life-threatening crisis, you can activate the talisman to escape, Lu Changsheng said with a stern expression, looking at his children arrayed before him. Remember, the matter of this talisman must not be disclosed to anyone else, understand? The talisman he referred to was known as a substitute talisman, ranked as a lower 3rd rank item. Its effect was somewhat similar to his life-substituting talisman. It was connected to one's essence, blood, and soul, forming a substitute puppet to take one's place in danger, and then transporting the user 1,000 miles away. However, its effectiveness was far inferior to the life-substituting talisman, withstanding only 1 blow from core formation at most. And unlike the life-substituting talisman, it could not guard against certain inescapable and deadly tactics. Nevertheless, it was more than enough for these children who were going to the marketplaces to handle business. Unless they ran into some formidable robber cultivators, it was unlikely they would need to use these talismans. Yes, father. They were seeing their father's stern demeanor for the first time. Realizing the gravity of the situation, they didn't dare to take it lightly and swore oaths of the heart demon. Later, holding the talismans traced with mysterious toad script that resembled purple dragon scales in their hands, they each looked overjoyed. After all, they all knew that their father was a top-level talisman master with a renowned reputation. Such life-saving talismans were certainly extraordinary. Having seen his children use the substitute talismans, Lu Changsheng left them after giving a few instructions. The east broke with dawn, and the morning light was faint. At the top of Bai Yun Peak, the tallest point of Bai Lake Mountain, stood an ancient tree tens of feet high, made entirely of gold and jade, its brilliant luminance flowing. This was a forbidden area of Bai Lake Mountain, where the ancestral lady cultivated, offering an easy view of the entire landscape of Bai Lake Mountain. At this moment, atop the ancient tree, a man and a woman were engaged in pleasurable yet shameful acts. Lu Changsheng had Su Ruyin brace herself against a branch, while he supported her from behind with his strong and supple reach. Su Ruyin, in a red gauzy robe, had her even and beautiful legs raised like jade columns. Forced on her tiptoes, her heels lifted intermittently, turning her tender white jade toes faintly pink. "Miss Su, do you like it this way?" Lu Changsheng asked teasingly. Chapter 757, Heaven Rank Demon Plant, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. After spending so much time together, he naturally couldn't resist and plucked Su Ruyin, this fruit. Perhaps it was his daily training or the brainwashing by Ling Zixiao, that Su Ruyin gradually resigned herself to her fate and offered herself willingly during one of their tender moments after a night of drinking with Ling Zixiao. Faced with such a situation, Lu Changsheng certainly didn't pretend to be an upright gentleman. In the days that followed, Su Ruyin essentially became like a chambermaid for Ling Zixiao, helping out and making Lu Changsheng comfortable and carefree. And during ordinary days, some of the pastimes that Lu Changsheng couldn't enjoy with his wife, he could now have Su Ruyin comply with. Like Su Ruyin, forced to grasp the branches of Mount Sumeru, kept her beautiful eyes tightly shut, her fiery red hair dancing wildly, uttering stuttering sounds from her mouth. From this height, they could still see the fishermen on Bai Shui Lake and some loose cultivator apprentices practicing on Lake Heart Island. "Do you think they can see us? Or are they wondering what we're doing here?" Lu Changsheng, looking out over the vast expanse of Bai Shui Lake, his hand roaming on smooth skin, spoke softly. Although Su Ruyin knew that with the inverted 5 elements formation in place, no one could see them, her starry eyes fluttering open and closed, looking down at the scene below, she still felt her whole body tense up, a thrilling sensation rising from deep within her. Eventually, under a crisp sound, Su Ruyin whimpered, moans bursting forth, her body going limp with a cry, hands hanging powerlessly. Seeing this, Lu Changxing thought that although Su Ruyan had reached the 9th level of energy refinement, her body was still somewhat frail. After slapping her jade buttocks, he embraced her delicate body and switched positions to continue. Just then, a system notification sound echoed. Congratulations to the host. 30 offspring have completed the process of drawing qi into their bodies and stepping onto the path of immortality, receiving the bloodline effect. A 5% increase in the likelihood of offspring having a spiritual root and a chance for a lucky draw. HM? 30 already. When Lu Changxing heard the system notification, he paused for a moment. He had suspected as much when there was no notification at 25. Pleased with the system granting child money, Lu Changxing's mood elevated. He firmly grasped Su Ruyan's graceful waist, driving deep with fervor, venting his pleasure. The beautiful woman shivered, trembling, her defenses scattered in disarray, a gushing spring of surrender. It wasn't until the sun was high in the sky that Lu Changxing let Su Ruyan go to rest, and he himself went to the talisman room to start the lucky draw. System, lucky draw. Lu Changxing mentally called out. Instantly, a pale red prize wheel emerged bathed in golden light, beginning to spin for the draw, eventually coming to a stop on the pet section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a spiritual pet, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Reward has been delivered to the system space. Host can check at any time. An image of a sinister, black flower with a blood-red aura emerged from the prize wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, a demonic plant? Lu Changxing's eyes lit up upon seeing this reward. Although he wasn't much interested in pets, the exception was definitely plant-based spiritual pets. Indeed, through the Mount Sumru Tree King, he knew that this kind of demonic plant could also be used to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique. Right away, Lu Changxing looked into the system space. Demon Beast, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Rank, Heaven Rank Upper Grade. Description: evolved from the soul of a 5th-rank great demon from the netherworlds, born from the nourishment of countless beings' fresh blood, feeds on flesh, souls, and possesses a prison within its belly, capable of imprisoning beings, currently has the strength of 2nd rank, Hiss, Heaven Rank Upper Grade? And it has 2nd rank strength? Seeing the rank and description of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom before him, Lu Changxing couldn't hide his elation. Both the rank and the strength made him feel that the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom was quite a catch. If there were any problem, it would be that it looked somewhat sinister. Birthed by the nourishment of living blood, it feeds on flesh and souls. Doesn't this mean that this demonic flower doesn't require a spirit vein spiritual energy and would do just fine with enough flesh and blood? If that's the case, planting this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom wouldn't add too much pressure to the current situation of by Lake Mountain. I just don't know if this demonic flower can be used to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique. Lu Changxing saw the demonic plant in the system space and murmured to himself. He planned to give this demonic plant to Lu Miaohuan or Chu Zhenjin to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique. Through Lu Miaohuan's cultivation of the heaven and earth longevity technique, he knew that after refining a heavenly spirit plant into one's life-bound spiritual root, other than a certain degree of influence on the plant's growth, there would not be any other significant problems. And as a demonic plant with a heavenly grade bloodline, the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom would certainly meet the requirements for cultivating the heaven and earth longevity technique. If used for cultivation, the effects might be even better than the luminous treasure tree. However, this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom might be more suitable for Huan. Lu Changxing stroked his chin. Both the appearance and the description of this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom resembled a demon. Given Chu Zhenjin's disposition, she would probably be frightened just by looking at it, let alone dare to feed it with flesh and blood. Although Lu Miaohuan might not necessarily like it either, it would clearly be much better compared to Chu Zhenjin, and she probably wouldn't mind that aspect too much. If I could let Mount Sumru induce the birth of a companion spirit plant, then both Huan and Zhenjin's plants would be taken care of. Lu Changxing let out a long sigh. He planned to pick a time to plant this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom and let Lu Miaohuan and Chu Zhenjin have a look. Half a month later, Lu Changxing arrived at the Nine Dragons marketplace. About 3 months had passed, and his 3 maids had already been delivered. Lu Changxing looked at the 3 maids in front of him. Similar to the original Xiao Yuyao and Xiao Yueru, the 3 of them had fine appearances and figures, but their eyes were dull, filled with numbness. The only difference was that among these 3, 2 of the women had 5th grade spiritual roots, and 1 had a 6th grade spiritual root. 5th grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing felt quite emotional in his heart. He still remembered his first visit to White Jade Tower, where he could only afford a maid with a 9th grade spiritual root. At that time, middle grade spiritual roots seemed unattainably high for him. But after years of hard work and struggle, women with middle grade spiritual roots became just a substantial expenditure for him. There were even female cultivators with middle grade spiritual roots who took the initiative to come to his door and offer themselves. Wealth, companions, law, and land. No wonder wealth comes first. TSK. Money really can make a ghost push a millstone. After a slight moment of emotion, Lu Changxing expressed no issues and took the 3 back to Bai Lake Mountain. During this time, the steward Xia also upgraded his membership for Lu Changxing. He indicated that with a higher membership level, the future auction would grant access to maids in greater quantities and of better quality. This surprised Lu Changxing, as he hadn't expected the auctions to have different levels. He then asked Steward Xia about the prices fetched by the recent top-grade spiritual roots. The other party didn't hide anything, indicating that number 1 fetched a price of 150,000, while number 2 fetched 160,000 spirit stones, astonishing Lu Changxing. It seemed there were more wealthy people than he imagined, but with such financial power, they were definitely not mere foundation establishment cultivators, but surely nascent soul immortals. Chapter 758, Top-Grade Spiritual Root, Spiritual Origin Pearl. _1 time flew by, and 3 months had passed. In these 3 months, Lu Changxing did take care of the 3 new maids he had bought, but only one of them became pregnant. It wasn't that there was a problem, but rather that he had been busy. Moreover, with so many concubines already at home, Lu Changxing was not in a rush for them to conceive immediately. One day, Lu Changxing felt a surge of mana abruptly enter his body. He knew that one of his children had advanced in their cultivation realm. Nowadays, as his children gradually began their cultivation, almost every few months or half a year, he could sense this enhancement. But whether it was the Qi refinement cultivation level or the martial realm, in terms of adding to his current strength, it was far too insignificant. Unless it was a quantitative change, otherwise, only when his children broke through foundation establishment would he experience a significant improvement, enabling him to directly break through his own realm. Father. 3 days later, his son Lu Chuanjun saw Lu Changxing and immediately reported that he had broken through to the 6th level of Qi refinement. Qi refinement 6th level. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing knew that Lu Chuanjun was hinting at wanting to go out for an experience. Although for such matters, one could directly report to Lu Yun and Lu Miaoyun. But it was clear he couldn't get past his mother Chu Zhenjin, thus he came to have his father speak on his behalf. Sai, go ahead then. Lu Changxing also felt somewhat troubled. Once he agreed to his son's request, he naturally would not go back on his word. Moreover, in his heart, he too wished for his children to travel more. In the cultivation world, except for those with exceptional talents, without experiencing storms, even with a foundation establishment elixir, foundation establishment would not be easy to achieve. The 2 of them went to Chu Zhenshin's courtyard. Adventuring, how dangerous it is outside. Chu Zhenshin's smile turned into concern upon hearing the reason for their visit. She looked at Lu Chuanjun and fretted. Chuanjun, if you want to go out, you could go to Red Leaf Valley Market. Your mother isn't stopping you, but the outside world is so chaotic, so dangerous. Husband. Chu Zhenjin then looked at Lu Changxing, knowing he must have come to advocate on their son's behalf. After all, she had approached Lu Changxing several times about Lu Quanzhen's situation, but it was clear that as a father, he was partial to his son. Zhenjin, I understand what you're thinking, you want Chuanjun to be safe and sound. Lu Changxing took his wife's wrist and sat down beside her, saying, I also wish for them all to be safe, but Chuanjun is no longer young. he has his own convictions and will be unhappy staying at home all the time. Besides, an eaglet must fly on its own eventually. It can only grow after experiencing storms and waves. Although with me as a father, Qianzhen wouldn't need to go through these things. It's a good thing that he wants to venture out. Lu Changxing slowly explained to his wife. Qianzhen never made unreasonable fusses about such matters, but would just show a wronged expression and feel sad alone. And he, who always found it hard to resist her soft approach, feared his wife's aggrieved appearance. Lu Qianzhen was much the same. He might revere his father, but he respected his mother and feared her sadness, her aggrieved look upon him. Moreover, if Qianzhen goes out, I, as a father, am prepared. This talisman, named Substitute Talisman, can save one's life from nascent soul immortals and those below them using a talisman. There's also this puppet. You've seen it before. It's a second-rank puppet that can hold up against a foundation establishment cultivator for several exchanges. With these, there won't be much danger for Qianzhen while traveling. As Lu Changxing spoke, he produced a talisman that resembled a purple dragon scale and a beast-shaped puppet that was dark gold in color, emitting a cold gleam. Originally, he hadn't planned on giving him a second-rank puppet, but seeing Qianzhen like this, he decided to offer more. A second-rank puppet? Lu Qianzhen, who had been bowing his head, was taken aback upon hearing his father's words and seeing the second-rank puppet before him. A substitute talisman that could save one's life from nascent soul immortals and those below. That he could barely comprehend. After all, his father was a top-level talisman master. But to also give him a second-rank puppet? Was his father really that generous and wealthy? He knew that his father was doing this for his mother's sake, to allay her worries, and he felt a surge of emotion. He thought about just going through the motions and returning the puppet to his father later. After all, such a puppet was worth about 10 or 20,000 spirit stones. Even for his father, that was probably not a small amount. Sigh. Qianzhen pursed her lips and let out a deep sigh. She knew that since Lu Changxing had said so much, he was basically agreeing to let Lu Qianzhen go out. Under such circumstances, it would not be appropriate for her to say more. And she had never been one to contradict Lu Changxing's words. Qianzhen, be careful out there on your own. Don't go off for years, remember to come back every year. And make sure to keep the talisman and puppet your father gave you safe. Don't go seeking danger just because you have them. Qianzhen, saddened and reluctant, pulled her son aside, softly speaking with teary eyes. A mother's worry spans 1,000 li when her child travels afar. Especially in the cultivation world, which had always seemed chaotic and dangerous to Qianzhen, she was very concerned about her son going out alone. Mother, rest assured, your child understands. Lu Qianzhen, with a handsome and earnest face, affirmed. He then smeared his brow's blood and vital blood on the substitute talisman. The talisman transformed into a beam of spiritual light, entering the center of his forehead. Qianzhen also felt somewhat relieved at this sight. She might not know much, but she was aware that her husband was very capable and would not shortchange their child. After letting Lu Qianzhen accept the second-rank puppet, Lu Changxing chatted with his wife and son for a while and then departed. However, as he left the courtyard, Lu Qianzhen sent a message saying he did not need the second-rank puppet and there was no need for such an expense on his father's part. Keep it, it's embedded with 10 middle-grade spirit stones. It can last up against an early foundation establishment for nearly 10 exchanges, so when you encounter one, do not clash head-on. Chapter 759. Top-grade spiritual root, spiritual origin pearl. Lu Changxing waved his hand and said to his son, not paying much attention to the puppet. He had previously created 3 second-rank puppets. One for Ling Zixiao, one for Lu Miaoyan, and one for Lu Miaoge. A long time ago, he also gave one to Lu Miaohuan. But because of Chu Zhenshen's personality, who usually disliked going out and was not good at fighting, he hadn't given one to her. Now this puppet could be considered Chu Zhenshen's share. My child thanks you, father. Lu Qianzhen took a deep breath and bowed his thanks. He felt that the riches of his family's father might surpass what he and his siblings could imagine. 2 months later, inside the Changxing Hall, Lu Changxing was in the middle of refining a Tai Chi talisman. Suddenly, a mysterious fluctuation came through. Lu Changxing was naturally familiar with this fluctuation. With his spiritual root promoted to 2nd grade, the improvement of his wife's spiritual root's quality, favorable breeding as well as the system's bloodline enhancement, his previous 6 children, 4 of whom had spiritual roots, and 2 had 5th grade spiritual roots, and 2 had 6th grade spiritual roots. However, this child's spiritual root fluctuation was much stronger than that of the other 4 children. This is a superior spiritual root. A 3rd grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing's eyes revealed a look of joy. Except for his daughter Nangong Yao Yao, who he had not yet met, there wasn't a superior spiritual root in his family. In the cultivation world, a superior spiritual root could increase the successful breakthrough rate of foundation establishment by 30 to 50%. If there was a foundation establishment elixir or foundation establishment spirit object, one would surely be able to break through foundation establishment, with hopes for core formation in the future. System. Lu Changxing mentally called, opening his system panel. Name, Lu Changxing. Status, Master of By Lake Mountain, Cultivation Level, 5th level of Foundation Establishment, Lifespan, 45/286. Talents, 2nd grade Spiritual Root, Medium level Gengjin Body Constitution, Spiritual Body, High level Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Spiritual Body, Top level Flawless Heavenly Fragrance Body, Spiritual Body. Cultivation Techniques, 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, 7 Luminaries Great Freedom Sword Scripture, Yin Yang Harmony Technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture, Immortal Beauty Technique, Tai Shingshui Technique, 12 Divine Demons Technique. Spells, Sword Shadow Dividing Light Technique, 7 Luminaries Sword Chi, Soul Scattering Needle. Items, Seed of Law, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, Endless Guileful Head, Lu Family Genealogy, Spirit Pill, Spiritual Eye Spring, Profound Origin Bead, Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates, Luminous Treasure Tree, Golden Armor Bean Mother, Life Substituting Talisman, Coagulation Crystal Elixir, Magical Treasures, 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. Skills, Alchemy, 2nd rank, Talisman Making 3rd rank, Puppet, 2nd rank, Spirit Slaughterer, 2nd rank, Wine Brewing, 2nd rank. Spiritual Pets, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, Mount Sumeru Tree King, 9 Netherhound, 6-Winged Golden Silkworm, Cold Blue Dark Turtle, Peach Blossom Goo, Bloodline Effect, Offspring's Spiritual Root Probability plus 30%, Breeding Offspring plus 20%. Family, 321, Lu Changxing looked at the family section and found the child that had just been born. Immediately, an information panel appeared. Name, unnamed, lifespan, 1/80th, talents, 3rd grade spiritual root, cultivation level, none, ability, alchemy, 39%. Indeed a 3rd grade spiritual root, and already having a 39% talent in alchemy just after birth, with proper nurturing, becoming a 2nd rank alchemist should not be a problem. Lu Changxing looked at the panel, his eyes full of joy. Immediately, he set aside the half-finished Tai Chi talisman in his hands and went to the Lu family mansion. He promptly learned that Xia Zizhu had given birth to their child. No wonder, I didn't expect it to be a 3rd grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing muttered to himself. Xia Zizhu had given birth to 3 children for him. The previous 2 children, his daughter Lu Xingyue, had a 6th grade spiritual root, and his son Lu Xingyang, a 5th grade spiritual root. Now the 3rd child had a direct 3rd grade spiritual root. Greetings, Master. Upon arriving at Xia Zizhu's courtyard, the servants immediately greeted him respectfully. I heard Zizhu has given birth? Lu Changxing nodded and went straight to the backyard's annex, where he saw Xia Zizhu holding the baby. Husband. Xia Zizhu showed a look of joy on her pale face upon seeing Lu Changxing. Nowadays, Lu Changxing mostly spent his time cultivating in Changxing Hall. So, the birth of a child in the family usually depended on whether he remembered it or not. Although it was the same whether Lu Changxing attended or not, they all still hoped that Lu Changxing would come and see them. Zizhu, you've worked hard. Lu Changxing, feeling somewhat embarrassed, sat beside the bed and spoke softly. With more and more children, and tasks that could easily take at least 10 days to half a month, his attention to the birth of his children had gradually decreased. Husband, it was not hard at all. Xia Zizhu spoke softly, showing her newborn baby to Lu Changxing. This child, let's name him Xingqian. Lu Changxing took the child, looked at his clear, distinctly black and white eyes, and said with a chuckle, "Third grade spiritual root, this son will also be one of the pillars of the Lu family. Xingqian, Lu Xingqian." Xia Zizhu, hearing this, showed a gentle smile and called out to the baby, "Zizhu, you rest well." After chatting with Xia Zizhu for a while, Lu Changxing spoke warmly. Even though she had the 7th level energy refinement cultivation, because of her spirit-nurturing physique, giving birth always depleted her vital energy. She needed to rest much longer than the average cultivator. After reassuring Xia Zizhu, Lu Changxing joined his wives and concubines in the mansion for a casual chat, asking about the family's well-being. Daddy, are you busy?" Just then his daughter Lu Wangshu ran over, calling out to Lu Changxing with a cheerful face. "What's the matter?" Lu Changxing tousled his daughter's hair bun and asked with a smile. His daughter, Lu Wangshu, was now 9 years old, and he planned to awaken her blood talisman spiritual body within the next year. "Daddy, can you make me some candy beans to eat?" Lu Wangshu pulled out an empty little bottle, tipped it over on the ground a couple of times, and spoke in a soft, adorable voice. Chapter 760, Top Grade Spiritual Root, Spiritual Origin Pearl. "Don't we have candy beans at home?" Lu Changxing said with a warm smile. To lay a foundation for the child, the family always had a stock of elixir medicines for strengthening the body and nourishing the origin. In these days, Wang Lin also often used Su Ruyin to make elixir medicines for the family, so Lu Changxing seldom made these ordinary elixirs himself. "But the candy beans you make are sweeter," Lu Wangshu said cutely, holding her cheeks in her hands. "What, did I put too much salt in the sugar pills?" Lu Changxing pretended not to hear clearly. "Daddy," Lu Wangshu clung to Lu Changxing's wrist and coaxed, "if you don't make me sugar pills, then you have to go fishing with me." Alright, I'll go with you in a bit." Lu Changxing doted on her and rubbed his daughter's head, knowing she just wanted him to spend time with her. The wives and concubines standing nearby looked at this scene with envy in their eyes when they saw Lu Wangshu. Now, if one were to say who was the most beloved by Lu Changxing in the family, it would be Lu Wangshu. Half a year later, Red Leaf Valley Market. "Fellow G, this is the spirit talisman you wanted, take a look." Lu Changxing, looking at the heroic middle-aged man before him, took out 10 Supreme Second-Tier Spirit Talismans and spoke. Second-Tier Supreme Teleportation Talisman, Second-Tier Supreme Prohibition-Breaking Talisman. The heroic man examined the talismans, his face immediately revealing joy. He then cupped his fist and said, "I have long heard of Master Lu's great renown, and seeing you today, you truly live up to your reputation. This is the Spiritual Origin Pearl, Master Lu. You only need to give me 10,000 spirit stones, and this Spiritual Origin Pearl is yours." He took out a fist-sized spirit pearl that radiated 5 colors of light from his storage bag. As the spirit pearl appeared, the density of the surrounding nature's spiritual energy started to slowly increase. "Good, here are 10,000 spirit stones, fellow G can take a look." Lu Changxing said joyfully, taking out a prepared storage bag. "Good, the transaction is complete, thank you, Master Lu." The heroic man took the storage bag, swept it with his divine sense, handed the spiritual origin pearl to Lu Changxing, and then cupped his fist before departing. "Take care." Lu Changxing saw the man out, exhaled lightly, and looked at the spiritual origin pearl in his hand with delight. With this spiritual origin pearl, our family's spirit vein should be able to be greatly enhanced. Since establishing by Lake Mountain, he had Lu Miaoyun continuously seek out spiritual origin pearls from the outside. But spiritual origin pearls were rare, and there had been no activity for many years. 3 months ago, the G-surnamed man had approached the Lu family, saying he had a spiritual origin pearl. But he was unwilling to trade with spirit stones and wanted Lu Changxing to draw 10 second-tier supreme talismans, plus 10,000 spirit stones. Facing such a request, Lu Changxing naturally agreed, and thus the transaction had occurred. However, this fellow Ji doesn't seem like a very good person, I'm afraid. Lu Changxing thought about the effects of these talismans and inwardly speculated. The 10 talismans were suitable for exploring cave dwellings and secret realms, but equally, they were also suitable for murder and plunder. But he did not pay it any mind, and after checking that there were no issues with the spiritual origin pearl, he placed it into his storage bag. Changxing, the family is arranging for Muping to undergo foundation establishment. But both Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market would draw too much attention and be noticed, so in planning to send Muping to either the Qingyun Market or the Immortal City to establish her foundation. That day, Lu Yuanzhong came to Red Leaf Valley Market and spoke to Lu Changxing. Let's go with the Qingyun Market. I know the fairy Shiyu from the Qingyun sect. I can rent a decent cave dwelling for her through her in Qingyun Market. And this time, I'll take Mu Ping over myself. It's better for uncle to hold the fort at home. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing pondered for a moment before speaking. There's a saying, if you're going to do a good deed, do it well. If you're going to send Buddha, send him all the way to the west. Letting Lu Yuanzhong take Lu Muping out for foundation establishment may expose them to danger along the way. After all, Lu Muping's foundation establishment concerns not just Qingzhou Mountain but also Lu Miaoge. He didn't want any accidents to happen at this stage. Now that Bai Lake Mountain has Ling Zixiao and Mount Sumeru as guardians, he felt free to go out himself. So, he thought, why not make the trip himself? That way there shouldn't be any problems. Since that's the case, Changxing, I'll have to trouble you with this matter. When Lu Yuanzhong heard this, joy immediately spread across his face. Having a superb cave dwelling can indeed help with breaking through to foundation establishment. And with Lu Changxing personally accompanying him, there was no fear of any mishaps on the road. Uncle, you're being too polite. Have Mu Ping come to Bai Lake Mountain to find me in a month, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Afterward, he informed Lu Miaoge about it and then returned to Bai Lake Mountain to give the spiritual origin pearl to Ling Zixiao. He asked her to use the pearl to set up an array to upgrade the spirit vein on Bai Yun Peak. The spirit vein of Bai Yun Peak was a middle grade of the second rank, and it was just one step away from advancing to the upper grade of the second rank. With just 2 or 3 spiritual origin pearls, the spirit vein could be promoted. Once he finished his tasks, he also wrote to Xiao Siye, telling her about the foundation establishment in Qingyun Market. Half a month later, brother, a girl with delicate and pure features, a graceful and captivating figure, clad in a white dress and of peerless elegance, called out to Lu Changxing upon seeing him. Her voice was sweet and sticky, like the sound of heaven, and her beautiful eyes brimmed with deep joy and affection. Little Linger. Seeing the joyous girl, Lu Changxing naturally held her in his embrace. He twirled her around like comforting a child and kissed her pure radiant forehead. Has my little Linger broken through to the 9th level of qi refinement? The next moment, Lu Changxing sensed the change in Bai Ling's cultivation level. He saw that her cultivation realm had advanced from the 8th level to the 9th level of qi refinement. Although the Black Dragon Codex hadn't caused the kind of scenario Ling Zixiao mentioned, allowing her bloodline to exhibit any significant manifestation, the cultivation technique still suited her very well, and her speed of cultivation had increased. It took only 3 years to go from the 8th level to the 9th level of qi refinement. He estimated that in another 2 to 3 years, she would be ready to attempt foundation establishment. Bai Ling nestled against Lu Changxing's strong chest, lifting her charming forehead lightly. Her peach blossom-like beautiful dreamy eyes were moist and shiny, seductive and bewitching, her face expectant, waiting for Lu Changxing to praise her. Little Linger is really amazing. Lu Changxing naturally knew what the girl was thinking. He cupped her exquisite cheek, drew his face close, and captured her cool, soft lips, a cold and snowy fragrance overflowing between his teeth, sweet and soft. After a moment, Bai Ling's cheeks flushed with a radiant red, her eyes flirty as silk, as if ready to drip water, her breath disheveled, and her body a bundle of softness. Seeing this, Lu Changxing chuckled and carried the delicate body of the little girl back to the room. Although Bai Ling's bloodline made it extremely difficult for her to conceive, and now she was also cultivating the Black Dragon Codex, Lu Changxing was confident in himself, believing that he bore great fertility. He simply needed to put in more effort, and success was certain. Moreover, among his many wives and concubines, Bai Ling really was a rarity, one he greatly cherished. Chapter 761. A Trip to Qingyun Marketplace, Fairy of the Zither. _1 an hour and a half later. By Lake Mountain, Lu Family Mansion. Zishao, in these days, you have been the one who's worked hard taking care of home. Lu Changxing said to Ling Zixiao. His trip to Qingyun Market was initially just to escort someone there and then return. But after writing to Xiaoxiye, he learned that right at that time the Qingyun Market was holding an auction that took place once every 10 years, and she was planning to go as well. So, he delayed his departure by a month, intending to participate in this auction to see if there might be some gains. Incidentally, he planned to invite Xiaoxiye to buy Lake Mountain. After all, he felt it was necessary to involve Xiaoxiye, the mother, in matters such as their daughter awakening to the blood talisman's spiritual body. Rest assured, my husband, I am taking care of our home. Ling Zixiao, dressed in a blue gown with an elegant face and a gentle voice, said. Her meridians and dantian had largely recovered by now, enabling her to barely use her foundation establishment mana. And with the Mount Sumeru Tree King guarding the home, they need not fear even core formation invaders. Lu Changxing nodded in response. With Ling Zixiao at home, he felt quite reassured. He then arrived at the Lu family mansion. Greetings, uncle. Inside the hall, a man who appeared to be in his 30s, with a handsome face, dressed in green brocade clothes and sharp eyes, bowed respectfully to Lu Changxing. He was Lu Muping, the foundation establishment seed of the Lu family's current generation. Now that you're ready, let's set off. Lu Changxing nodded slightly to Lu Muping in front of him. Although he had spent many years in Qingzhou Mountain, he wasn't very familiar with Lu Muping. Theirs was a nodding acquaintance. Yes, uncle. Although their ages were not far apart, Lu Muping showed great respect to Lu Changxing. After all, as Lord of Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Changxing enjoyed a fierce reputation in the Qingyun region, especially in the surrounding areas. This reputation had been forged through 2 great battles fought by Lu Changxing himself. Moreover, he knew that his foundation establishment elixir, too, came from Lu Changxing, so he felt awed and grateful to him. Soon, Lu Changxing and Lu Muping, disguising their appearance and whereabouts, left by Lake Mountain for Qingyun Market. This trip was meant to keep their foundation establishment attempt at Qingyun Market a secret from others, so as not to let anyone know that someone from Qingzhou Mountain was attempting to establish their foundation. 2.5 years earlier, the incident where Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge suppressed the robber cultivator in Red Leaf Valley Market had boosted their fame. But it also made many neighboring families and powers wary of them, unwilling to see them continue to rise and grow stronger. After all, nobody wanted an additional top-tier family power in the surrounding region, a cultivation family. 20 days later, a spirit boat stopped outside Qingyun Market. 2 middle-aged men in black robes stepped off the boat. They were none other than Lu Changxing and Lu Muping, who had come to Qingyun Market for foundation establishment. Qingyun Market? Lu Muping looked at the premier marketplace of the Qingyun region before him. Although he had many years of experience traveling abroad, he had never been to this Qingyun Market. Let's go in. Lu Changxing, who had been there twice, seemed familiar with the route. He led Lu Muping to queue up for registration and enter the market. Then he took out a yin-yang sensing talisman and sent a message to Xiaoxiye. About half an hour later, a tall figure in white clothes and a white skirt, a fairy with a beautiful face and a graceful demeanor that seemed like the bright moon in the sky, approached. Shiyu. Lu Changxing looked at the figure and sent a message with his voice. Changxing. Xiaoxiye's cool and majestic eyes immediately softened. The young one greets Fairy Xiao. Upon seeing Xiaoxiye, Lu Muping found it hard to hide his amazement. But he dared not look for too long for fear of defiling the fairy before him and bowed with his hands clasped together. Xiaoxiye nodded, her expression cool, her head inclining slightly. She knew that the person before her was the one Lu Changxing had mentioned, who was about to break through to Foundation establishment. Let's go. Without much conversation, she led Lu Changxing and Lu Muping to an already arranged Type A cave dwelling. For an energy-refining cultivator, this was indeed the best place to break through to Foundation establishment. Muping, are you fully prepared for every contingency? If you need anything else, you can purchase it here in Qingyun Market. Lu Changxing looked at Lu Muping and asked, Uncle, I am fully prepared. You have done much for me on this journey. Lu Muping answered respectfully. Even though he had been psychologically prepared, now that the moment of Foundation establishment was upon him, he felt quite nervous. After all, for most cultivators, reaching Foundation establishment was the ultimate life goal. Okay, since that's the case, you should prepare in the cave dwelling for Foundation establishment without any nervousness or haste. Adjust your state and then proceed to break through. Lu Changxing patted his shoulder and said, with the Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir, 3 Foundation Establishment spiritual objects, and the insights into Foundation Establishment, unless something went wrong, the chances of success were great. Yes. Lu Muping nodded, entered the cave dwelling, and started preparing for Foundation Establishment. Afterward, Lu Changxing and Xianxia went to another inn and exchanged their feelings of longing for each other. After that, Shiyu, do you have time after this auction is over? Lu Changxing asked softly. Changxing, is there something you wish to discuss? Xiaoxia's face lost its coldness, showing a blend of laziness, charm, and seductiveness, and her manner was captivating. If you're free, accompany me to by Lake Mountain afterwards. It's about Wangshu. Lu Changxing wrapped his arms around the fairy's jade body, speaking softly. What has happened to Wangshu? Xiaoxia immediately showed a worried and anxious look upon hearing her daughter's name. It's certainly good news. Lu Changxing chuckled softly at Xiaoxia's anxious appearance. Then he pinched her soft cheek, saying softly, as to what it is, allow your husband to keep it a secret for now. You will find out soon enough. He thought only news of their daughter Lu Wangshu could make Xiaoxia so anxious and worried. Chapter 762. A Trip to Qingyun Market, Fairy of the Zither. Great news? Okay, they'll go back with you then. Xiaoxia immediately let go of the nervousness that had suddenly arisen and was curious about what the great news Lu Changxing had mentioned was. 1.5 months later, the Qingyun Market's auction took place. The auction was bustling with excitement, and even with Xiaoxia's connections, Lu Changxing managed only to secure a spot in the ordinary seats. The distinguished guest seats were reserved for notable figures from the Qingyun sect or those with reputable names and faces from the surrounding areas. To this, Lu Changxing was indifferent. He attended the auction just to join in on the excitement and see if he could snag some good finds. As the auction was about to start, cultivators poured in continuously, among whom were even the false core Immortals. Huan sect. The leader is the fairy of the Qin from the Huan sect. Just then, 4 women clad in rainbow-colored dresses adorned with white ribbons, dignified and graceful, with the air of Immortals, walked into the auction, causing quite a stir when someone exclaimed. Lu Changxing also turned his head to look. The women had their hair done in an Immortal style and wore veils over their faces, making it hard to discern their features. Only a pair of beautiful eyes were visible outside. The more it was so, the more it gave off a misty and ethereal beauty, making one eager to get a glimpse of the celestial face beneath the veil. So these are the cultivators from the Huan sect? Lu Changxing remained calm, with a slight raise of his eyebrows, unperturbed. In the Jiang country cultivation realm, besides the Heavenly Sword sect, Qingyun sect, Luoxia sect, and Spirit Taming sect, there were also 2 sects, 3 cities, 3 noble families, and 8 forces of core formation strength. The Huan sect was one of the 2 sects. The sect was quite distinctive. It was dominated by female cultivators, who cultivated music mastery, excelled in singing and dancing, and dabbled in illusion and bewitching techniques. Many large marketplaces had businesses under their name, such as the Huan Pavilion and Miao Pavilion. The music and dance of the sect's disciples could refine one's emotions, purify the spirit, and even assist in breaking through realms. Many found themselves needing to adjust their state when attempting to break through bottlenecks. And the music cultivation techniques of the Wang Lin sect could stir people's emotions, bringing calm to the mind and dispelling distractions. As for the title fairy of the Qin, Lu Chongqing had only heard of it. She seemed to be a disciple of the Wang Lin sect's sect leader. Because of her profound attainments in music, people referred to her as Fairy of the Qin. The four women only appeared for a moment before walking straight into one of the second floor's private boxes, restoring tranquility to the venue. A short while later, the auction began. The auction, held once every 10 years, started with items of the Qi refinement realm level. Compared to other items, these were relatively rare and uncommon materials. Lu Chongqing had no interest in these items and did not bid. When it came to the middle of the auction, items suitable for foundation establishments started to appear. During the process, Lu Chongqing bid for and won a water-type turtle demon core. After exchanging insights on beast taming with Hong Lian, he learned that for creatures like the 9 netherhound, 6-winged golden silkworm, and cold blue dark turtle, it was beneficial for their growth to consume certain demon cores, though these had to be of the same attribute. If the species of the demon beast matched, the effect would be even better. This water-type turtle demon core could help the cold blue dark turtle, so he decided to purchase it. The auction continued, and as the latter half arrived, rare items of the foundation establishment started to surface, even third-rank heaven and earth treasures. Spiritual Origin Pearl, starting bid, 20,000 spirit stones. This pearl is a product of natural creation. Although it is ungraded as an eye of spirit, carrying it or placing it in a dwelling will enrich the spiritual energy, and if combined with a formation, it can even be used to upgrade a spirit vein. Each bid increase must not be less than 1,000 spirit stones. Sir the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was at this moment that an auction item emerged, sparking a surge of excitement. Spiritual Origin Pearl. Lu Changsheng's face showed surprise and delight. After obtaining a previous Spiritual Origin Pearl, Ling Zixiao made a judgment. He indicated that with just one Spiritual Origin Pearl or through cultivating with a large number of spirit stones, the spirit vein of Bai Yun Peak could potentially be elevated to a high-grade second rank. He had been wondering how to get a Spiritual Origin Pearl, and although he came to the auction hoping for some luck, he did not expect to actually find one. 25,000 spirit stones. 30,000 spirit stones. 32,000 spirit stones. The Eye of Spirit, like the Spiritual Origin Pearl, was in demand by both individuals and forces, and it was immediately competed for by many. 40,000 spirit stones. Lu Chongqing called out his bid. In the midst of the competition, he ultimately spent 43,000 spirit stones to acquire the Spiritual Origin Pearl. The price was a bit steep, but for Lu Chongqing it was within an acceptable range. Fortunately, he had dealt with the magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts obtained from the robber cultivators in the Red Leaf Valley market during his recent market strolls. Otherwise, he would not have had enough spirit stones on hand right now and would have had to resort to selling talisman materials. In the following auctions, several flagship items were presented: third-rank spiritual wood, core formation spiritual objects, and lower-grade magical treasures. But since the prices were too high and he had just spent a significant amount on the Spiritual Origin Pearl, Lu Chongqing decided to forego further competition. After all, a foundation establishment cultivator with too much wealth would attract unwanted attention. Moreover, he really didn't have many spirit stones left. As the auction came to an end, Lu Chongqing left the venue feeling satisfied. Though he had only purchased 2 items this time, the acquisition of the Spiritual Origin Pearl made the trip worthwhile in his eyes. 7 days later, Lu Chongqing and Xiao Siye returned to Bai Lake Mountain, preparing for their daughter Lu Wangshu to awaken her blood talisman's spiritual body. As for Lu Muping, there had been no movement in his dwelling up to now. This situation was quite normal. All cultivators attempting foundation establishment had to ferment, adjust their state. Someone like Lu Miaoge, who had heavenly foundation establishment, was an extreme rarity. Search the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 763. A Trip to Qingyun Market, Fairy of the Zither. Even Lu Changxing and Xianxia had spent over a month adjusting their essence, qi, and spirits to perfection. Just over a month had passed, and it was very likely that Lu Muping was still adjusting his state and had not started foundation establishment. Therefore, Lu Changxing and Xianxia could not possibly waste time here waiting for him. Considering he had purchased an item worth 50,000 spirit stones at the auction, Lu Changxing was exceedingly cautious on his journey home. Fortunately, he encountered no dangers and safely returned to Bai Lake Mountain a half-month later. Mother! Lu Wangshu was overjoyed to see her mother Xianxia return. In the 2.5 years, although Xianxia had visited her once, she had only stayed with her for 3 days before leaving, which made her miss her mother terribly. Wangshu! Xianxia immediately went forward to hug her daughter tightly. The mother and daughter then reunited, Lu Wangshu's face full of joy, chattering away about her daily delights. Lu Changxing accompanied his wife and daughter in their conversation. But seeing his daughter heading off to fish again, he shook his head and went away, handing over the spiritual origin pearl he won at the auction to Ling Zixiao. S.E.A. The Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Another spiritual origin pearl? Ling Zixiao, seeing the pearl, showed surprise and delight in her beautiful eyes. It was well known that spiritual origin pearls were rare treasures. Lu Changxing had just acquired one a few months earlier, and now there was another. With this pearl, the spirit vein of Bai Yun Peak could immediately upgrade to upper second rank. Not only would the spiritual energy increase, but it would also aid in her ongoing arrangement of the divine wood great formation. I was lucky this time. There happened to be a spiritual origin pearl at the Qingyun market auction, so I bid for it. Lu Changxing said with a smile. I will go now to integrate this pearl into the spirit vein. With this pearl, it will take at most 3 months for the spirit vein of Bai Yun Peak to ascend to upper second rank. Ling Zixiao's eyes shone with joy. She had invested a lot in Bai Lake Mountain, treating it like her home, and witnessing its incremental progress and improvements also filled her with a sense of achievement. Good. Lu Changxing chuckled merrily. It was rare for him to see Ling Zixiao exhibit such emotions. Changxing, you mentioned something about Wangshu the other day, what was it? The next day, Xianxia asked Lu Changxing about the great news concerning their daughter. Hee, do you remember me asking you about the blood talisman spiritual body? Lu Changxing said with a chuckle. Of course, I remember. Xianxia nodded. No sooner had she spoken than her eyes revealed hints of astonishment, amazement, and joy. She quickly turned to Lu Changxing and asked, Changxing, are you saying that Wangshu is, that's right, if nothing goes wrong, Wangshu is indeed a blood talisman spiritual body? Lu Changxing held Xiaoxia's hand tenderly as he spoke. A blood talisman spiritual body, Wangshu actually has a spiritual body. Hearing the news, Xiaoxia's eyes gleamed with excitement and joy. Although the blood talisman spiritual body didn't offer any assistance with cultivation, it was still considered a superior variety and one naturally attuned to the talisman path. With such a body, her future prospects on the path of talismans were incredibly promising. As long as she lived, she could at least become a third-rank talisman master. Moreover, with Lu Changxing as her top-level talisman master father, her potential in talismans was boundless. Changxing, why didn't you say earlier that Wangshu is a blood talisman spiritual body? Then I could have collected all the necessary spiritual blood materials she needs while at the sect or marketplace. Xiaoxia knew that the blood talisman spiritual body was a recessive trait, requiring the blood refinement method, consuming spiritual blood to stimulate the spiritual body for activation. Such matters, of course, I've already prepared for. I called you here so you could awaken Wangshu's blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing said, grinning. He thought to himself that concern leads to chaos. Otherwise, with Xiaoxia's intelligence, How could she not have guessed that he was already prepared? He took out various types of spiritual blood he had collected over the years from his storage bag. These types of blood were not only gentle in nature, preventing harm to the body, but even soaking in them would benefit the physical body, tendons, and meridians. I didn't expect that you would be so thoroughly prepared, Changsheng. When Xianxia heard Lu Changsheng's introduction to the various types of spiritual blood and saw how well prepared he was, a happy expression crossed her face. She then teased somewhat reproachfully, "It seems you've known about Wangsha's spiritual body for some time, Changsheng." Realizing that she, as a mother, had been kept in the dark about her daughter's spiritual body, the normally aloof and proud fairy Xiyu showed a rare bit of petulance, akin to that of a young girl. Hee, I also couldn't confirm it myself until recently when I talked with Wang Lin. Lu Changsheng immediately claimed he hadn't known before. Mentioning Wang Lin gave Lu Changsheng pause. He couldn't help but want to inquire if Wang Lin knew anything about the blood talisman's spiritual body. Xiaoxia had mentioned there were 2 ways to awaken it, but she was unclear about the first method, the blood sacrifice ritual, as it wasn't recorded in the Qingyun sect's annals. Thus at that moment he wished to ask Wang Lin about the first method of awakening, whether the 2 methods of awakening had any differences or not. Thereupon, Lu Changsheng went to the summit of Baiyun Peak to inquire whether Wang Lin knew about the blood talisman's spiritual body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 764. Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Goo. _1-inch blood talisman spiritual body? Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, Wang Lin guessed that he was inquiring for his daughter, Lu Wangshu. In the 2 years she spent at Bai Lake Mountain teaching the Lu family disciples cultivation, she had also made some casual observations. Among Lu Changsheng's children, aside from Lu Wangshu, none showed any remarkable talent. If anything was to be said, it was that the likelihood of a spiritual root in his offspring was relatively higher than the average level. However, she distinctly noticed that as the children aged, not only did their spiritual roots become increasingly better, but the probability of possessing them grew higher as well. This surprised her, seeing the effect of the Dragon Emperor body. Even with Lu Changsheng at the foundation establishment cultivation level, the Dragon Emperor body already showed such effects. What if he were to break through to the core formation stage, nascent soul stage, or even the divinity transformation stage? The offspring he would then have would all be incredibly gifted and uniquely talented. Young master, aside from the 2 methods you mentioned for awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, there is a 3rd way to awaken it, to my knowledge, that is through unceasingly advancing on the talisman path and unleashing potential, thereby awakening the spiritual body. As for the first method involving a sacrificial ritual, I have heard that it involves a cultivator performing a blood sacrifice, but the specific details of the blood sacrifice ritual are unclear to me. It's probably similar to the second method that involves the blood refinement method with demon beast blood. Wang Lin spoke in a gentle, pleasant voice, slowly revealing the details of the blood talisman's spiritual body. Using cultivators for a blood sacrifice? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow, thinking it was no wonder that there were no records in the ancient texts of Qingyun sect. As a righteous immortal sect, such things, even if known, would not be disseminated. He continued to inquire, are there any differences among these 3 methods? There is some difference in the degree of awakening of the spiritual body in the early stage, but overall, there won't be much discrepancy. Wang Lin opened her mouth and quietly said, "Young master, if you want to maximize the spiritual body awakening effects, you can add some true spirit blood during the awakening through the blood refinement method." True spirit blood? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng immediately thought of his own Mount Sumeru Tree King. He asked, could this true spirit blood be too overbearing? Wangshu is a blood talisman spiritual body, and I am preparing to awaken her spiritual body, but she has yet to commence cultivation. If the spiritual blood is too potent, it might harm her body. Young master, I know of a medicinal bath technique that can dilute true spirit blood and use it to prepare a medicinal bath. This will not only maximize the awakening of Miss Blood Talisman's spiritual body but also purify her flesh and solidify her foundation. At that time, Miss Wang Shu can immediately commence cultivation, and before reaching the foundation establishment, her progress will be incredibly fast. Dressed in gorgeous palace clothes, with a delicate and perfect complexion, Wang Lin always maintained a faint smile on her face as she spoke. She appeared sacred and noble and exuded an ethereal and hazy beauty. Good, list the spiritual materials needed for this medicinal bath. Lu Changxing immediately replied upon hearing this. Young master, this medicinal bath technique is not immutable. It still needs to be formulated based on the condition of the spiritual blood, and I also have some understanding in the area of medical treatments. Wang Lin said this, indicating her need to first confirm the conditions of several types of spiritual blood. Because aside from the Mount Sumerus true spirit blood, she indicated that the bloodlines of the 9 Netherhound and the cold blue dark turtle were also extraordinary and could be included. Good. Lu Changxing nodded his head, asking for the approximate amount of spiritual blood needed. After confirming that it would not cause harm to his pet beasts, he went to request a portion of spiritual blood from the Mount Sumeru Tree King. The true spirit blood of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, although called blood, is actually an origin source liquid. It resembles liquid amber and shimmers with a golden luster, exuding a rich vitality and a sacred aura. Subsequently, he asked Wang Lin to draw some essence blood from the 9 Netherhound and the cold blue dark turtle, which left both pet beasts somewhat wilted and weak, needing several months to recuperate. 10 days later, inside the alchemy room, the earth vein fire burned vigorously. Sarthanav fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, above the fire was not a pill furnace. Instead, it was a bronze cauldron. At this moment, inside the cauldron, the crystal-clear spiritual liquid roiled as Su Ruyan placed pricey herbs, spirit fruits, monster cores, and even demon beast bones into it. As time passed, the clear spiritual liquid inside the cauldron gradually turned dark and viscous. Cease. Su Ruyan lifted her palm lightly, and gourds from the table beside her rose into the air, their contents of spiritual blood pouring into the cauldron. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. With the addition of green, crimson, and azure liquids into the cauldron, the dark water boiled more fiercely, emanating an unpleasant smell. Daddy, Lu Wangshu, originally excited to hear she possessed a legendary spiritual body and that a simple medicinal bath could awaken it, had hurried over in high spirits. But now, looking at the boiling bronze cauldron, her face tensed up, her lips pursed, displaying a hint of fear. It's okay, don't be afraid, Lu Changxing said as he stroked her head. Mommy, Lu Wangshu then turned to look pitifully at her mother, Xianxia, no longer wanting to proceed with the medicinal bath. It's fine, once the medicinal bath is finished, little Wangshu can begin to cultivate. Xianxia squatted down, speaking gently. She was well aware that Lu Changxing had prepared this medicinal bath for his daughter to awaken the blood talisman's spiritual body, spending tens of thousands of spirit stones and even purchasing a second-rank medicinal cauldron specially for it. The inclusion of true spirit blood, particularly, was beyond valuation. Su Ruyan poured the last bottle of golden liquid into the medicinal cauldron. Following that, just like in alchemy, she gestured towards the bronze cauldron, emitting a series of spells. The cauldron hummed and vibrated, the liquid inside boiling and foaming, with splashes of iridescent clarity. The originally murky liquid slowly turned to a pale gold, filling the air with a rich fragrance. Young master, the precious medicine has been brewed, it is ready for use. At this moment, Su Ruyan looked towards Lu Changxing and spoke. Daddy, I'm going to be boiled alive, Lu Wangshu said with a frightened face. Search the novel fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 765. Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Goo. Wang Lin, are you sure there won't be any problems? Lu Changxing looked at the bubbling medicinal bath with concern and asked for confirmation. Young master, please please rest assured, this medicinal bath technique refines all the essence into a precious medicine. During the baptism, other than some pain, there will be no harm, the Hong Lian inhabiting Su Ruyan's body spoke up. Due to her weak spiritual soul, she was unable to leave the ancient beast-taming charm for long periods of time or do too much through her spiritual body. Therefore, for daily tasks such as alchemy, artifact refining, and setting up arrays, she would do them through Su Ruyan's body. It was also for this reason that Lu Changxing had not allowed Su Ruyan to conceive. Good. Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing this. Then, looking at Lu Wangshu, who was timidly clinging to her mother, Xiaoxia, he spoke in a gentle voice. Wangshu, it's okay, it will be over soon. Daddy, I'm going to be boiled, Lu Wangshu said, her face filled with fear. Good girl, Wangshu. Xiaoxia knew they couldn't delay any longer, as it would affect the efficacy of the bath. She gritted her teeth slightly, then raised her hand, and her daughter was lifted into the air, followed by a plop as she entered the cauldron. Daddy, Mommy, it's so hot, I don't want to be boiled. Lu Wangshu immediately cried out in alarm, her face showing a look of pain. Wangshu, don't be afraid, after the bath, Daddy will teach you cultivation, and after your bath, you will grow up quickly and be able to hold turtles. Lu Changxing, seeing this scene, felt sorry for his daughter and worried she might not be able to bear it, so he spoke comfortingly. Shoo! Su Ruyan then cast one spell after another toward the bronze cauldron, landing on Lu Wangshu. The medicinal liquid boiled and bubbled, radiating a brilliant light and permeating a fragrant scent. Even the roar of demon beasts could be heard. Daddy, Mommy. Under the baptism, Lu Wangshu's body turned red, her skin was suffused with a brilliant light, and a divine radiance flowed. However, the look of pain on her small face was genuine. She had been pampered by Lu Changxing from a young age and had never been hit or hurt before. Now she was experiencing this kind of pain. It's okay, don't be afraid, just endure it a little while longer, and later Daddy and Mommy will take you fishing and make you candy pills. Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia could tell that the medicinal bath was indeed not causing harm to Lu Wangshu. The wisps of essence in the medicinal bath continuously cleansed and refined her blood, meridians, bones, and dantian, making them more resilient and harmonious with nature's spiritual energy. Daddy, you have to keep your promise. Lu Wangshu also understood that she couldn't escape today's medicinal bath no matter what and had to endure boiling this once. With reddened eyes and a pitiful look, she said, When has Daddy ever lied to you? Lu Changxing replied with a pained expression, speaking tenderly. Sar the Nifire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lu Wangshu, with a pained and aggrieved face, stayed in the bronze cauldron, biting down on her teeth, no longer crying out in pain. She knew her parents were doing it for her own good, and she had to awaken her spiritual body through this method. As time passed little by little, the essence of the medicinal bath continued to baptize Lu Wangshu, making her tender skin turn a deep red as if about to bleed, with continuous impurities being expelled. Suddenly, a mysterious aura spread from within Lu Wangshu. Blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia both sensed this aura and exchanged a glance, their faces showing delight. They knew that Lu Wangshu's blood talisman spiritual body had begun to awaken. However, at this moment, Lu Wangshu was somewhat muddled under the medicinal bath ritual. She felt an inexplicable sensation all over, as if she were floating, and her whole body was comfortable. Groggily, she opened her eyes and saw her mother and father still beside her, watching her with concern. She instantly felt reassured and fell asleep right in the medicinal cauldron. This scene brought smiles to Lu Changxing and the others. The medicinal bath continued for a day and a night, leaving only a quarter of the original amount. My lord, it's done. At this time, Hong Lin cast a spell and spoke to Lu Changxing. Hong Lin, you have worked hard this time. Lu Changxing exhaled deeply and said, All day, it had been Hong Lin who was busy, he and Xiaoxia had just been watching. He could now clearly see that his daughter, Lu Wangshu, was crystal clear and radiant, with a rich spiritual energy flowing through her meridians and dantian. As soon as she began cultivation, she could complete the process of drawing spiritual energy into her body, without the need to cultivate slowly. My lord is too kind. Wang Lin said with a light laugh. Well, take Wang Shu to rest, and you should rest too, Lu Changxing said. He knew that the day had taken a lot out of Wang Lin. He then gestured for Xianxia to lift Lu Wangshu out of the cauldron to have a good night's rest. Mother! Lu Wangshu, lifted by her mother, half awake, mumbled softly and cuddled into Xiaoxia's arms before falling back to sleep. She had undergone the medicinal bath ritual and awakened her blood talisman spiritual body, exhausting a great deal, and needed sleep to recover and complete her transformation. All right. Wang Lin nodded in reply and then looked at the remaining liquid in the cauldron, saying, My lord, not all of the medicinal power in the cauldron has been absorbed. Later on, you can add more medicinal fluid and continue to use it to refine the flesh and bones of the young masters and ladies in the house. Refining the flesh. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly and he asked, Wang Lin, can anyone be baptized in this medicinal bath? Of course. Wang Lin spoke up. This medicinal bath technique is something I acquired from a barbarian witch tribe. After detecting the spiritual root in their children, they all undergo a medicinal bath ritual to refine their flesh and bones. This method is actually akin to the effect of the solid foundation elixir that my lord administers to the young masters and ladies in the house. It's just that, comparatively, this method is more crude and direct. If my lord wishes to perform a medicinal bath ritual for all the young masters and ladies in the house, it is certainly possible, but this is best done between the ages of 6 and 10. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 766, Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Goo. If they're too old, it's difficult to absorb the effectiveness of the medicine, easy to waste, and the effects are not significant, Wang Lin said in a gentle and graceful voice. All right, we can consider that later. As for now, this kind of medicinal bath is still somewhat expensive, Lu Changxing nodded in agreement. Although he wanted to provide such a treatment for all his children, the preparation of this medicinal bath for Lu Wangshu alone, not to mention the use of his 3 pet beasts' spiritual blood, cost him nearly 20,000 spirit stones just for the purchase of other various spiritual blood, spiritual medicines, monster cores, and demon beast materials. If he were to do this for all the children in the family, even if he were wealthy, he couldn't afford such an expense. Moreover, the blood supply from the family's 3 pet beasts wouldn't keep up. Young master, this time it was for the awakening of the blood talisman spiritual body, which involved the use of true spirit blood, thus maximizing the effects of the bath and resulting in higher costs. It's also possible to create a medicinal bath using the blood, bones, and monster cores of first and second-rank demon beasts. However, such potency can be much more overbearing and the process extremely painful. If one cannot endure it, there's a risk of injury. In some small barbarian tribes where conditions are poor, they use this method to lay the foundation for their youngsters, Wang Lin added. She indicated that the medicinal bath for Lu Wangshu was of a high standard, and for the initiation of ordinary youngsters, it wouldn't need to be so lavish, costing less than 1/10. Good, Lu Changxing nodded his head. He planned to consider adding a medicinal bath ritual to the family's regimen when conditions improved. System. As he walked out of the alchemy room with Xiaoxia, Lu Changxing inwardly called out. He wanted to see what changes had occurred to his daughter's talents after awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body. Immediately, a system panel appeared. Name, Lu Wangshu. Lifespan, October 93. Talent, 4th grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, superior spiritual body. Cultivation level, none. Talent, talisman path compatibility, 89%. 89%. Lu Changxing, upon seeing the talent displayed on his daughter's panel, paused for a moment, his eyes revealing surprise and delight. He hadn't expected that upon awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, his daughter's talent would soar so dramatically. The person with the highest talent in his family currently was Ling Zixiao. Her formation path talent was 81%. Yet his daughter, Lu Wangshu, having just begun to be introduced to the talisman path and having awakened the blood talisman spiritual body, now had a compatibility of 89%. Under his tutelage in the future, through the blood talisman spiritual patterns within her body, her talent might easily surpass 90% and could potentially reach 100%. The blood talisman spiritual body is naturally attuned to the talisman path. Lu Changsheng exhaled softly, murmuring to himself. Although he too had awakened the blood talisman spiritual body and was aware of its effects, due to his second-grade talisman master legacy and the 99 mystical talisman scripture from the system, he had no need for this spiritual body. Besides using it initially to get familiar with the patterns from the 99 mystical talisman scripture and to draw third-rank spirit talismans, which felt much easier, in other areas, such as comprehension of the talisman path, he really didn't feel any advantage. The two arrived at the Lu family mansion. Xianxia gently laid her daughter on the bed and softly asked, "Changxing, now that Wang Shu can start cultivating, have you considered which cultivation technique she should practice? Later, I can go back to Qingyun's sect and see if there are any cultivation techniques related to the talisman path, which would be beneficial for Wang Shu in the future." She knew that her daughter, having the blood talisman spiritual body, would benefit greatly from practicing talisman path techniques, but talisman path techniques were extremely rare, and there was no known inheritance of such techniques in the Jiang country cultivation realm. Don't worry about that. When I obtained the art of talisman formations, I also received a cultivation technique for the talisman path. Lu Changxing, sitting by the bed, pulled his lovely wife into his embrace and said warmly, "Good." Upon hearing this, Xiaoxiye's beautiful eyes shone like crescents as she smiled softly. In that case, Wang Shu won't need to join an immortal sect and can cultivate at home. She might not know about Hong Lian's situation, but through Lu Changsheng's various actions over the years, she knew that under these circumstances, her daughter did not need to join an immortal sect. Initially, she did have the idea of having her daughter join an immortal sect. But as Lu Changsheng's extraordinary talents gradually emerged, her thoughts on the matter slowly faded. "Shiyu, don't worry with me here, Wang Shu's future will certainly not be bleak." Lu Changsheng's voice was full of confidence. Looking at his daughter on the bed, smacking her lips as if she were dreaming about eating something, Lu Changsheng chuckled and pinched her tender cheeks. "Who knows, maybe in the future our little Wang Shu could become the foremost talisman cultivator in Jiang country." Although these words were somewhat in jest, he believed that under his guidance, his daughter could indeed achieve such a feat in the future. The foremost talisman cultivator in Jiang country, Xiaoxiye just hoped her daughter could be happy and did not have too many ambitious thoughts. But when she heard the foremost talisman cultivator, a smile of longing also appeared in her beautiful eyes. After all, as parents, who wouldn't hope for their daughter to achieve something in the future? Search * the Nellfire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Thus, the two of them spoke about their daughter's future. At this moment, Lu Changsheng also couldn't help but miss his children who were away from home. His son Lu Qingshan and daughter Lu Qingzhu of the Jinyang sect in Yu country, and his daughter, Nangong Yao Yao, in Jin Kingdom. He was slightly more at ease with Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. After all, Jinyang sect of Yu country was a righteous cultivation sect. His son Lu Qingshan had broken through to the 6th level of energy refinement last year, and his daughter Lu Qingzhu had also advanced to the 5th level not long ago. But the situation of Nangong Yao Yao, he couldn't help but worry. After all, the 5 poisons cult of Jin Kingdom belonged to the demon path. His daughter had been raised in a demon path sect since she was young, with her mother Nangong Meili being a notable figure in the demon path. Although this situation didn't necessarily mean she was at a disadvantage, it felt like she could easily be led astray. This child will soon be 5 years old. Lu Changxing thought that he had never even met this child, fearing he wouldn't know how to face her when he went to Jin Kingdom in the future. At this moment, he was filled with profound anxiety. Meanwhile, in Jin Kingdom, the 5 poisons cult, a gloomy and dark prison cell. Under the heavenly goo, with the golden silkworm as king, it seems your luck is not small, actually managing to refine a golden silkworm goo. Nangong Meili, dressed in a majestic purple silk gown with an enchanting and bewitching face, looked at the man in front of her and spoke softly, as a gold-hued, silkworm-like creature rested on her slender jade-like fingers. Heaven Spider Emissary, please spare my life. Heaven Spider Emissary, please spare my life. I am willing to offer up the golden silkworm goo and only ask for your eminence's mercy. The man was burly, with a fierce face and bloodshot eyes. His limbs, his collarbones, and his pelvis, all the vital points, were pierced by chains, suppressing his mana. As he looked at the extraordinarily glamorous Nangong Meili in front of him, he kept pleading for mercy, fear evident in his eyes. As a disciple of the Five Poisons cult, he was very clear that this Heaven Spider Emissary was a true femme fatale. Falling into her hands meant there was no good ending. Sparing your life, naturally I can. However, since you have managed to refine the golden silkworm goo, you should know that to subdue it, one must use the fresh blood of its master for nurturing and feeding. Nangong Meili smiled charmingly, her voice flirtatious, but her beautiful eyes only held cold and ruthless light. No, Heaven Spider Emissary, I beg you, please spare me. The burly man showed a look of terror, trembling all over, and he quickly begged aloud. Having managed to refine the golden silkworm goo, he certainly understood the domineering nature of the goo. It was difficult for others to refine it. The only way was to suppress the will of the golden silkworm goo with another heavenly goo and slowly subdue it. But there was another demonic method, which was to pour and feed the blood of its current master to slowly refine it. Nangong Meili, by saying this, was obviously intending to use the second method to make him a blood slave, thereby refining the golden silkworm goo. Watching Nangong Meili turn and step out of the prison, he howled ferociously, "Ah, Nangong Meili, you harlot, you will not die well. I refined the golden silkworm goo and was certain to rise among the ranks in the sect's grand competition. If you kill me, once the sect hierarch knows, he will certainly not let you off lightly." The burly man roared loudly, his body struggling against the chains, making them rattle loudly. He thought that after obtaining such a fortuitous chance to refine the golden silkworm goo, he was on the cusp of soaring high. But unexpectedly, because of the crime of killing a fellow sect member, he was taken down by Nangong Meili and was now destined to become a blood slave. Nangong Meili, facing these curses, turned a deaf ear and let out a soul-stirring, light chuckle. Looking at the golden silkworm goo on her fingertip, her eyes revealed a hint of indulgence and joy. With this golden silkworm goo, Yao Yao's destined goo will have a place to belong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 767. Fate-defying robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation. _1 by Lake Mountain. Lu family mansion, in a rear courtyard. Lu Wangshu held the cold blue dark turtle above her head, running around the courtyard with a face full of cheer. Although her body had been decent before, it was still within the range of an ordinary person. But after the medicinal bath ritual, her physical constitution had improved significantly, almost a complete transformation, comparable to a martial artist, a body cultivator. Wangshu, be careful. By her side, Xiaoxia watched her daughter with worry, fearful that the girl might trip or hurt herself. All right, Wangshu, come here, Daddy will teach you cultivation. Lu Changxing, watching his spirited and overly excited daughter, called out helplessly. His daughter was usually quite serene. But now, running around with a cold blue dark turtle weighing hundreds of pounds, he felt a strong sense of dissonance. It was a relief that after the medicinal bath, only her height had increased a bit. If she had transformed like Neza, Lu Changxing felt he would not bear to look. However, he knew this was merely the strong effect of the medicinal bath. The girl had slept 3 days and nights and still hadn't fully assimilated the medicine's power, her whole being brimming with energy. Lu Wangshu set down her pet and then skipped merrily over to Lu Changsheng's side. Although she had been nearly cooked to death a few days ago, which made her quite aggrieved, her current spirited and strong state made her feel unprecedentedly well, pushing the memory of almost being boiled behind her. Daddy, what's the name of the cultivation method I'll practice? How do I cultivate it? Lu Wangsheng asked with clear, expectant, and curious eyes. In class at the academy, Shed learned quite a bit about cultivation. She knew that in cultivation, one needed to choose a cultivation technique suitable for oneself, and after reaching the third level of qi refinement, one could fly on a sword and command water, fire, lightning, and thunder. By then, she could go fishing on her own, without needing to call for daddy or mommy or for the company of a brother or sister. Your spiritual body is of the talisman path, so the technique daddy is going to teach you is called 99 mystical talisman scripture. Lu Changsheng had his daughter sit next to him and gestured for Xianxia to listen in. He then started to describe the technique. After practicing this technique, you can condense your life-bound divine talisman, and in battle, you have methods such as void drawing of talismans, talisman refinement formation, and sacrificial of talisman soldiers. Daddy, does void drawing of talismans mean you can draw talismans without using talisman paper? Lu Wangshu, under Lu Changsheng's everyday teachings, had already become familiar with talisman making. Exactly, all kinds of talismans and techniques can be deployed through the method of void drawing of talismans. Ordinary talismans require a lot of time to draw, but after practicing this technique, you'll be able to draw a large quantity of talismans in a very short amount of time, Lu Changxing said softly. Daddy, why not prepare talismans in advance? That way, wouldn't you not need to draw them when the time comes? Lu Wangshu asked such a question. Lu Changxing? He suddenly felt that by placating his daughter with talismans to play with in ordinary days, he had led to her lacking awareness of the value of spirit talismans. Because normally drawing talismans not only takes a lot of time but also requires money to buy talisman paper and spirit ink. So the novel, If Ire, NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you can perform void drawing of talismans, you can save the money for those materials, which you can then use to buy tasty treats and fun toys. Moreover, the higher the level of the talisman, the rarer the materials needed. Void drawing of talismans doesn't have this problem, Lu Changsheng explained patiently to his daughter. Oh, I see. Daddy, what are talisman refinement formation and sacrificial of talisman soldiers? Lu Wangshu nodded thoughtfully and continued to inquire. Normally, we use 2 or 3 talismans at a time, right? But with talisman refinement formation, you can use hundreds or thousands of talismans together at once, forming a formation that multiplies their power, Lu Changsheng explained, taking out a golden armor spirit bean. As soon as the spirit bean flew out, it transformed into a large figure, a warrior clad in golden armor. As for talisman soldiers, they are spirit talismans refined into soldiers, like this golden armor warrior that Daddy has, which can help with work and do many things. You like big puppet toys, right? Talisman soldiers can be made to look like big puppet toys, Lu Changxing said with a smile, pointing at the golden armor warrior. Help with work, big puppet toys? Lu Wangshu heard this, and looking at the 2-meter-tall golden armor warrior in front of her, her little face immediately showed a look of surprise and excitement. Although she had some interest in talisman path, under Lu Changsheng's guidance, she was even more passionate about fishing, alchemy, and puppets. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words now and thinking that she could take talisman soldiers fishing, she grew interested in this technique. That's right, this technique is very powerful. Come, let Daddy teach you now. Lu Changsheng coaxed his daughter and began to explain the first level of the technique slowly. Xianxia rested her jade arm on her cheek, her beautiful eyes full of smiles as she watched the father and daughter in front of her. She couldn't help thinking back to the time when her master Yun Wanshang taught her how to cultivate. But her master had not been as detailed in her teachings as Lu Changxing was now. Moreover, her master was very imposing and strict back then, not as gentle in demeanor and tone as Lu Changxing, who seemed to be cajoling a child. An hour later, Lu Wangshu crisply said, Daddy, I've memorized it all. Oh, memorized it all, have you? Then give it a try. Daddy will watch you, Lu Changxing said with a smiling chuckle, taking out a cushion for his daughter. He was curious to see how long it would take for his daughter to get into the state and complete the process of drawing qi into her body. Just like when Lu Pingon practiced the 100 Refinements treasure body art, it had taken him 4 days to grasp the essentials. Lu Wangshu, hugging the cushion, sat down to the side in the lotus position. Then, with pursed lips and a serious face, she said, "Daddy, I'm going to begin." "All right," Lu Changsheng said with a full smile. The next moment, Lu Changsheng's smiling face stiffened slightly, and his eyes showed a look of surprise and doubt. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 768. The Fate-Defying Robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation. Not only him, but Xiaoxia's eyes also revealed surprise, doubt, and delight, because they saw that as soon as their daughter Lu Wangshu closed her eyes, she entered the state. Threads and strands of nature's spiritual energy were being drawn to her, slowly entering Lu Wangshu's body. This, Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia looked at each other, both seeing overwhelming joy in the other's eyes. The speed of a cultivator's cultivation, besides the primary factor of the spiritual root, depended also on comprehension. If one had high comprehension, many cultivation techniques could be quickly learned and mastered, hastening the pace of cultivation considerably. Sar the novel, NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Just like how Lu Changxing, relying on the cultivation techniques inherited from the system, faced fewer obstacles on his cultivation path. Seeing their daughter immediately enter the state and comprehend the cultivation technique, they were naturally overjoyed. Is this because of the blood talisman spiritual body or because Wangshu herself has excellent comprehension? It should be both. Wangshu has always been quick to grasp alchemy, talisman making, fishing, and other such activities, understanding their meanings with just a brief explanation. Now that the cultivation technique she is practicing is of the talisman path, which coincides with her blood talisman spiritual body, she has instantly grasped its mysteries and entered the state. Lu Changxing mused to himself, his eyes filled with joy. The real difficulty of the 99 mystical talismans scripture lay in its 99 spiritual patterns. Take Lu Miaoge. It had taken her 10 years to barely comprehend the first foundational spiritual pattern. Now, with Lu Wangshu's remarkable comprehension, understanding these spiritual patterns in the future should be much simpler. Changxing, it seems Wangshu has inherited your comprehension, Xiaoxia conveyed to Lu Changxing with a face full of joy. Because Lu Changxing was proficient in various cultivation techniques, as well as in talisman making, alchemy, and the art of talisman formations, she had always believed that Lu Changxing had extraordinary comprehension and innate talent. Seeing her daughter's comprehension now, she believed it was inherited from Lu Changxing. Hee. Lu Changxing chuckled but said nothing. He had a clear idea about his own comprehension. In this manner, under their watchful eyes, after half a day had passed. Boom! A surge of qi energy dispersed from Lu Wangshu's body, causing her skirt to flutter and creating a layer of dust around her. Lu Wangshu opened her eyes and looked at her delicate palms. She felt a mysterious change had occurred, yet couldn't articulate what had changed. Then she looked to her father and inquired, "Father, have I mastered it?" "Yes, you have. My Wangshu is really amazing. You have completed the first step of drawing qi into your body so quickly." Lu Changxing felt the faint flow of qi in his body, stood up, approached his daughter, and with a smile, stroked her head. At that moment, he deeply understood what it meant to win at the starting line. His daughter only had a 4th grade spiritual root. But with the solid foundation elixirs he had been feeding her since she was young, and the costly baths of true spirit blood and tens of thousands of spirit stones, her early speed was probably not inferior to those with higher grade spiritual roots. So this is drawing qi into the body? The little girl, upon receiving confirmation, immediately expressed her happiness. "Father, how long will it take for me to break through the 3rd level energy refinement? My teacher said that once I reach the 3rd level energy refinement, I can fly with the help of a magic artifact." As long as you diligently cultivate, it won't take long. When you break through the 3rd level energy refinement, Father will give you a magic artifact, said Lu Changxing with a chuckle. Gauging his daughter's current situation, he estimated that it would take about a year for her to break through the third-level energy refinement. Father, when can I start void drawing of talismans and the sacrificial of talisman soldiers? Lu Wangshu continued to inquire. That's going to take some time, said Lu Changxing, not wanting to dampen her enthusiasm. He added, well, as long as you cultivate well, whatever kind of large puppet toy you want, Father will give you one. As long as little Wangshu diligently cultivates, you can also tell Mother whatever you desire, said Xiaoxia, who had approached and wrapped her arm around her daughter. Okay, Lu Wangshu's face lit up with happiness. It was rare to see both her father and mother so joyful. In her heart, she felt an added expectation from her parents about her cultivation. Half a month later, Xiaoxia left. Her visit this time was precisely because of issues concerning her daughter Lu Wangshu. Now that she had been away for over a month, she needed to return to her sect to report back. Although Lu Wangshu was reluctant to part with her mother, as she grew older, she also understood that her mother had many duties to attend to. On this day, with the sun shining brightly, Lu Changxing accompanied his daughter Lu Wangshu to Baishui Lake for fishing. While the daughter had an extraordinary talent in the talisman path, she did not have a passion for talisman making and preferred fishing in her daily life. Lu Changxing, however, was at a loss. A child at this age was bound to be playful, and making her focus solely on cultivation and studying was impossible. Therefore, he could only suggest a mix of work and leisure, spending an hour a day on cultivation and an hour on studying the talisman path. The rest of the time, apart from attending classes, he let her play as she liked. Just then, a system notification rang in Lu Changxing's mind. Congratulations to the host, 50 of your offspring have broken through martial Dao innate, gaining bloodline effect, increased reproduction rate of offspring by 5%, and receiving one chance to draw a prize. 50 is it? Upon hearing the voice, Lu Changxing showed a smile. Father, I've got a fish on the line. Seated on the cold blue dark turtle, Lu Wangshu suddenly exclaimed with surprise and excitement, lifting the fishing rod vertically. Thanks to the medicinal baths, her strength had leveled up, and she no longer required assistance when hooking a fish. Moreover, she had self-taught how to play a fish, and patiently guided the fish onto the hook. This scene made Lu Changxing shake his head. With her talents and comprehension, why didn't she apply them more to worthy pursuits? After enduring what felt like an eternity fishing with his daughter for an hour, Lu Changxing told her to go back and cultivate properly, while he returned to Changxing Hall. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 769. The Fate-Defying Robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation. System, draw a prize. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and silently chanted in his heart. H's fishing luck had been so poor, it was about time for some good fortune in the drawing, right? A faint red roulette appeared, and the golden light began to spin. After a few breaths, the golden light settled on the magical treasure section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magical treasure, Fate-Defying Robe. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host may check it at any time. A mystic robe emerged from the great roulette, accompanied by a system notification tone. A magical treasure, the fate-defying robe? Lu Changxing's eyebrows lifted when he saw the reward. Although he was indifferent to most magical treasures, he felt quite pleased with the robe. After all, even if a magical robe could not be activated, its defensive capabilities were far superior to those of a common spiritual instrument robe. Magic artifact, fate-defying robe. Grade, high-grade magical treasure. Description, crafted by the ancient Mount Sumeru Elder, this unique magical treasure can block divination and conceal one's form and chi. If fully activated, it can hide in the void and traverse formations below the third rank. Unless one has the spiritual eye technique or divine skills, it is hard to detect. Not so much focused on defense, but blocking divination and concealing one's form and qi and traversing formations? Lu Changsheng looked at the magical treasure in front of him with some astonishment. In the vast array of cultivation skills, there is a very niche and specialized skill known as divination. This art of divination can fathom the secrets of heaven, intuitively predict personal fortunes and misfortunes, or gain a rough idea of someone else's situation and information. However, this mystical art of divination is very esoteric, with an extremely high barrier of entry and can shorten one's lifespan. Lu Changsheng had never seen it but had only read about it in books. In the cultivation world, where such arts of divination exist, naturally, there is also divine skills that shield one from heavenly secrets and treasures that isolate divination. The fate-defying robe is one such magical treasure. Though there's probably no one trying to divine my whereabouts for no reason, possessing this robe is good to have. Moreover, the robe also has effects that conceal one's form and qi. Lu Changsheng murmured to himself. He judged the fate-defying magical treasure to be fairly good and decided to keep it for his own use. With a slight intent, he retrieved the magical treasure from the system space. Instantly, a broadly tailored, simple and refined mystic robe appeared in front of Lu Changsheng. Upon touching the robe, it felt silky smooth and as warm as jade, woven with an unknown material and inscribed with spiritual patterns and seals. Lu Changsheng began the process of refining the seals within the robe. Saw the novel of Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. While his mana might not be strong enough to activate the robe, investing more time would allow him to refine it and retain the basic effects of concealing his form and qi. 1 month later, Lu Changsheng refined the fate-defying robe. After putting on the robe, he flicked his finger and a mirror made of water emerged before him. The water mirror reflected his handsome and dapper figure. Looking at his reflection, Lu Changsheng felt as if his entire demeanor had changed. Originally, with his handsome features and green robe, he was like an orchid standing proudly, refreshing to behold. Now, dressed in a mystic robe, his figure became even more slender and upright, adding layers of depth and a stately, dignified air. With the fate-defying robe on, Lu Changsheng inexplicably felt a strong sense of security. The main effects of the robe might be to block divination, conceal qi, hide one's form, and traverse formations, but a magical treasure is still a magical treasure. Its defenses were quite remarkable, far surpassing that of a spiritual instrument. Lu Changsheng had tested it and found that at least his own flying sword and techniques couldn't breach the robe and cause damage. Although the robe's spiritual light is subdued and it can conceal my form and qi, someone might still notice something is off. Lu Changsheng thought and decided to wear his green robe over it. After checking to make sure there were no issues, he left the room. 1 month later. Buzz. That day, as Lu Changsheng was teaching his daughter the basics of spiritual patterns, he suddenly felt Bai Yun Peak tremble slightly. Could it be Bai Yun Peak's spirit vein has advanced to a second-rank upper grade? He frowned slightly, immediately thinking of the advancement of his family's spirit vein. Wang Shu, watch yourself for a moment. Daddy has something to take care of and will step out for a bit. Lu Changsheng said to his daughter, Lu Wang Shu, as he prepared to investigate the matter. Yes, Daddy, go ahead. Lu Wang Shu replied obediently. Lu Changsheng patted her little head, walked out of the courtyard, and headed to the top of Bai Yun Peak. My husband Bai Yun Peak's spirit vein has indeed advanced to a second-rank upper grade. Ling Zixiao greeted Lu Changsheng, guessing the reason for his presence, and said with a graceful smile. So it is the spirit vein's advancement. Upon confirmation, a surge of joy filled Lu Changsheng's heart. Although the spirit vein was already at a critical point and the spiritual energy at the spirit eye was comparable to a second-rank upper grade, now that the spirit vein had advanced from second-rank middle grade to upper grade, the concentration of spiritual energy throughout Bai Yun Peak could rise by 30%. Not only beneficial for Bai Yun Peak, but for the entire Bai Lake Mountain and even for the Mount Summer Tree King. He reached the spirit eye and could clearly feel that the spiritual energy was much more dense than before, with a continuous, surging outpouring of spiritual energy. Over time, this spiritual energy would gradually affect the entire Baiyun Peak. However, Lu Changxing decided to let Mount Sumeru absorb some of this spiritual energy. Since Baiyun Peak didn't need so much spiritual energy right now, it would be better to channel it towards Mount Sumeru's growth. My husband not only has the spirit vein advanced to a second-rank upper grade, but the divine wood great formation is also nearly complete. It's just missing the last step. At this moment, Ling Zixiao continued with a smile. Oh, the divine wood great formation is about to be completed? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow, surprised. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 770. The Fate-Defying Robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation. Underscore for the divine wood great formation had taken a long time to complete. From the moment Ling Zixiao started preparing to now, 3 years had passed. Though progress was slow due to physical reasons, the workload was indeed enormous. During these 3 years, Ling Zixiao mostly spent her time setting up this formation. Indeed, if my husband is at leisure, you may watch here. Ling Zixiao's beautiful eyes shone brightly as she spoke. The reason the divine wood great formation took so long was that, under Hong Lian's guidance, her mastery of the formation path improved a lot, and she optimized and adjusted many aspects of the great formation. It could be said that this divine wood great formation was the pinnacle of her achievements. Now that the great formation lacked only the final step, she naturally hoped that Lu Changxing would watch her masterpiece and share her joy and happiness. I'd be more than happy. This was the first time Lu Changxing saw such an expression in Ling Zixiao's eyes. He knew that she truly loved the path of formation from the bottom of her heart. Now that the great formation was about to be completed, she hoped to receive his recognition and praise. Good. Ling Zixiao nodded and began the final step of the great formation. Although it was the last step, under Lu Changxing's watch, Ling Zixiao still took a whole day and night to complete it. At this moment, her elegant face was full of exhaustion, but her eyes showed no signs of tiredness. In fact, they sparkled with vitality. My husband, the divine wood great formation has been successfully completed, ranking as an almost third rank, and as long as the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak advances 3 ranks, the great formation will also be promoted to third rank. But even as it stands, in almost third rank, no nascent soul immortal could break through, and would even risk getting trapped inside, unable to extract themselves. Ling Zixiao's face was full of joy as she explained the situation of the Great Formation to Lu Changxing. The core of the entire Great Formation was the Mount Sumeru Tree King, possessing the divine skills of a Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, capable of creating a Mount Sumeru illusory realm. The illusory realm was connected to the world of the Mount Sumeru Tree King's Cave Heaven and could draw anyone from the illusory realm into the Cave Heaven to suppress them at will. What strength is required to break through this Mount Sumeru illusory realm? Lu Changxing, looking at the Mount Sumeru Tree King flowing with gold, amidst the array flags beside the mountain peak, asked aloud. Below core formation, there's no chance of breaking through, only a nascent soul immortal can break the illusory realm. But with the presence of the Mount Sumeru predecessor, as long as the nascent soul immortal doesn't break the illusory realm in the first instance, they can be suppressed within the Cave Heaven. Ling Zixiao said so. She had seen the Mount Sumeru Tree King suppress Hong Lian. Xia the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She knew that even a nascent soul cultivator would be helpless within the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. In other words, unless faced with a nascent soul attack, a nascent soul immortal coming to Bai Lake Mountain was on a path to doom. Zixiao, open the Great Formation, I'll enter the formation to take a look. Lu Changxing stroked his chin, curious in his heart, wanting to experience this so-called Mount Sumeru illusory realm. Just a moment, my husband. Ling Zixiao, dressed in a blue gown, graceful and dignified, softly spoke to Lu Changxing. Then, with a wave of her hands forming gestures and manipulating the array plate, she cried out, "Open!" In an instant, a crystalline luster flowed around the Mount Sumeru Tree King, shafts of divine radiance spilled out, giving the great formation that enveloped by Lake Mountain a hint of pale golden sheen. The blue and gold glows melded together, making the whole of by Lake Mountain seem semi-ethereal. Following that, Lu Changxing saw a hazy mist of gray fog emerge, shrouding and enveloping him. This is the Mount Sumeru illusory realm? The very next moment, Lu Changxing found himself no longer atop by Yun Peak. He appeared in a place where all sides were shrouded in a hazy and chaotic gray mist. Slash! Lu Changxing slapped his storage bag, and the true Yang 5-element sword appeared in his hand. Countless 7-colored spiritual lights burst forth, slashing towards the murky fog ahead. Puff, puff, puff. The 7 luminaries' sword chi flashed wildly, fierce and domineering, causing the fog to churn tumultuously and continuously disperse. But behind the fog were layers upon layers of more mist. Lu Changsheng's brow furrowed slightly as he looked at the gray fog ahead and continued to unleash several sharp sword lights. But behind that, there seemed to be an endless amount of gray fog, which was impossible to break through. My lord, how goes it? At that moment, Ling Zixio's figure also appeared in this world. She stood with dignified grace, her face elegant, asking with a smile. Zixio, is this really an illusion? Lu Changxing inquired. Although Ling Zixio had told him that this was an illusory realm derived from the power of Mount Sumeru, he felt as if he had teleported through a void, entirely in a different world. Yes, this Mount Sumeru illusory realm is half real, half false. All attacks are distributed over by Lake Mountain's azure water sky clearing Great Formation, and a portion is resolved by the senior Mount Sumer. Given enough spiritual energy to sustain it, this realm can evolve all sorts of illusions. Ling Zixio, holding an array plate, spoke out loud. With her words, she manipulated the plate to give a simple demonstration. Before them, the hazy world began to change, transforming into a wasteland with forests and even figures appearing. However, it lasted only for a brief moment before Ling Zixio let the scenery dissipate, returning to a murky chaos. Because this ability currently primarily consumed Mount Sumerus mana, it was very draining on it. Mount Sumeru. Lu Changxing nodded, looking at the illusion before him, and called out into the void. Immediately, Mount Sumeru replied, and a golden gateway of light appeared before them. Lu Changxing and Ling Zixio stepped through the light portal and entered within Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. This divine wood great formation is truly wondrous. With this great formation in place, even if many more try to enter by Lake Mountain, it is but moths to the flame, hurling themselves into a trap. Lu Changxing looked at the familiar scenery, took a deep breath, and remarked with a sense of relief. He knew that the greatest effect of this divine wood great formation was its fearlessness against group assaults. If a large force were to attack by Lake Mountain, and hundreds of cultivators were to come, as long as he operated the divine wood great formation, he could trap all of them within the Mount Sumeru illusory realm. Then he could either slay or suppress them one by one into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. My lord, it is no longer appropriate to continue calling this formation the divine wood great formation. Why don't you give it a new name? Ling Zixio looked at Lu Changxing and suggested with a smile. Since this great formation is set up by you, Zixio, it's only natural for you to name it, Lu Changxing said with a casual smile. In that case, how about we call it the Mount Sumeru Fantasy Heaven Great Formation? Ling Zixio suggested after a moment of contemplation. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 771. 3 Generations, 3 Foundation Establishments, The Dark Demon Corpse. _1-inch Mount Sumeru Fantasy Sky Great Formation, what a great name. Lu Changxing chuckled and said, who knows, perhaps the name of this formation will be famous throughout the entire Jiang country cultivation realm one day. Looking at Ling Zixio in front of him, he suddenly thought of something and asked out loud, Zixio, now that your body has recovered quite a bit and you can start cultivating again in a few days, have you considered switching to another cultivation method? With several top-tier cultivation techniques available in our family now, I indeed have thoughts of switching to another one, Ling Zixiao said with a light smile. Although the cultivation method she practiced was decent, it was only of the exquisite level. Now by Lake Mountain was not short of cultivation methods, as Wang Lin contributed 2 orthodox-level cultivation techniques and 7 peripheral sect-level cultivation techniques. Among them, there were 2 that she quite liked and was planning to switch to when the time came. Zixiao, which cultivation method are you planning to switch to? Lu Changxing continued to ask. One is predecessor Wang Lin's sect-defining technique Vermilion Bird Sky-Scorching Art, and the other is the Thunder Fire 9 Arts, Ling Zixiao said softly. As a dragon roar physique, cultivating a cultivation method that was exceptionally young and extremely firm would bring double the results with half the effort. And the techniques from the Vermilion Bird Palace mostly revolved around fire, which were rather suitable for her. I also have a few techniques here, Zixiao. Do you want to take a look and see if you like any? Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment and said. He knew these 2 techniques, one was orthodox level, and the other was peripheral sect level, both top-tier techniques from the Vermilion Bird Palace. But as her Daoist companion, he naturally had to show his support at this time. Whether a technique was suitable for Ling Zixiao was one thing, but his own attitude needed to be there. After all, over the years, Ling Zixiao had made many contributions to his family, had nearly lost her life for them, and what he had done for her so far was quite limited. Thank you, my husband, Ling Zixiao said with a light smile, sitting down gracefully beside the table and pouring a cup of wine for Lu Changxing. Ever since Lu Changxing had acquired the skill of wine brewing, he would brew some wine that was beneficial to her body. So she also developed the habit of occasionally sipping a cup. The sword technique in cultivating is known as the 7 Luminaries Sword Scripture. If Zixiao is interested, I can teach you. Lu Changxing picked up his cup and took a light sip as he spoke. I'm not interested in sword techniques, Ling Zixiao gently shook her head. She felt sword techniques were too sharp and overbearing, focused too much on killing, and did not suit her. Aside from sword techniques, I have another cultivation method called the 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. The talisman formation technique I passed on to you comes from this scripture. The main focus is. Lu Changxing smiled and continued to introduce. Search * the novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The talisman formation technique you taught me, I have not yet fully grasped it, and it involves too much knowledge about the talisman path. I have limited energy and simply no time to practice it concurrently. Ling Zixiao continued to shake her head. She was very interested in this cultivation method. But she knew she didn't have the energy to also pursue the talisman path on the side. After all, not everyone could be as extraordinary as Lu Changxing. I have a cultivation method called the Tai Shengshui Ju, but this method requires 2 people to cultivate together. Sister Miaoga is practicing this method, so there's no way I can help you with that. In addition to these, I have one called the Black Dragon Codex, which Bai Ling practices. It commands Dao soldiers, and upon reaching a high level of mastery, one can transform into a black dragon, summon winds and rain, and control thunder and lightning. Another is called the demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals, gathering the thoughts of the 12 divine generals. Lu Changxing softly voiced, introducing the various cultivation techniques he had to Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao was incredibly surprised to hear of the techniques Lu Changxing possessed. One must know, a single orthodox-level cultivation technique was enough to strengthen a sect's foundation. For a nascent soul true lord like Wang Lin, and a top-tier power, her entire sect had only 2 orthodox-level cultivation techniques. Yet, Lu Changxing alone possessed 4 orthodox-level cultivation methods, an astonishing feat. Even though she was aware that Lu Changxing had many cultivation techniques at his disposal, she was still taken aback at this moment. However, when she heard about the demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals, her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of interest. Gathering the thoughts of the demonic generals, refining the body, mana, and spirit, worshipping the 12 divine generals, Ling Zixiao asked, "Husband, could you tell me about this demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals?" Lu Changxing was slightly surprised, not expecting Ling Zixiao to be interested in this demonic cultivation technique. He paused for a moment then explained, "This method is 1/3 qi refinement, 1/3 body refinement, and 4 parts spirit refinement. During meditation, you conjure the thoughts of the demonic generals. There are 12 demonic generals within the body, each potentially cultivating to the same level as oneself, and they can also form formations. Husband, I think this method is quite good and seems very suitable for me," Ling Zixiao said with an elegant smile. As a dragon roar physique, it was best for her to cultivate a method that was exceedingly young and perfectly firm, and also focused on body refinement. As an array master, she always held high standards for her divine sense. This demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals, aside from being a demonic cultivation technique, met all her other criteria exceptionally well. Especially the condensed 12 demonic generals, which could be used to set up formations and implement talisman formations during battles. Zixiao, if you practice this method, you'll have to try to avoid taking action and traveling out as much as possible in the future, Lu Changxing mused after hearing this. He didn't mind Ling Zixiao practicing the demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals. After all, this kind of demonic technique wasn't some heinous method that caused harm to the heavens and others. It's just that the Jiang country cultivation realm is still predominantly an orthodox power. Once it's known that one is practicing a demonic cultivation technique, it would draw trouble. However, practicing a demonic cultivation technique isn't something that can be identified just by walking down the street. Unless it's a few specific techniques, or those that are practiced with blood qi and are too obviously demonic, most can't be detected. They would require special divine skills related to the spiritual eye or specific treasures to be detected. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 772. 3 Generations, 3 Foundation Establishments, the Dark Demon Corpse. Otherwise, the Blackwater Xiahou family wouldn't have been able to establish a foothold in the Qingyun region for so many years, and even become a great cultivation family. This cultivation technique is indeed likely to cause trouble in Jiang country. The technique from Senior Wang Lin also suits me well. I will see how to choose when the time comes, said the concubine. Ling Zixiao was also aware that cultivating demonic techniques in Jiang country, once troubles arose, would implicate the family. Hee, there's no need for such precautions, Zixiao. You don't like going out on normal days, so cultivating this technique won't be a problem. After all, this technique is indeed quite suitable for you. When the time comes, you can try cultivating these few techniques and see which one resonates with you, Lu Changxing, holding the hand of his beloved, said warmly with a smile. Since Ling Zixiao was interested in this technique, he felt it didn't matter. After all, Ling Zixiao really was a homebody, hardly ever leaving the house on ordinary days. Sir the Nellfire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the past at Qingzhou Mountain, apart from inspecting spiritual lands, she never left Qingzhou Mountain. Over the years, it had become even more so. She never even left by Lake Mountain. Always at home reading books, comprehending the talisman path, formation path, and setting up formations. In such circumstances, Lu Changxing felt that Ling Zixiao cultivating demonic techniques wouldn't have an impact. Moreover, this 12 capital heavenly demon divine technique was indeed formidable, categorized as one of the top orthodox level cultivation techniques, even more powerful than his own 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture by a margin. Good, Ling Zixiao smiled sweetly, feeling a warm current flowing in her heart. It was true that she could cultivate Vermilion Bird Sky Scorching art and Thunder Fire 9 arts, just the same. But Lu Changsheng's attitude gave her an indescribable sense of security. 1.5 months later. In the Changsheng Hall, inside the secluded cultivation chamber. Boom boom boom. Lu Changxing was sitting cross-legged, with treasure light flowing through his muscles, shining brightly, and a mysterious power coursing through him. His blood roared inside him, making a thunderous noise, accompanied by the sounds of clashing iron and charging troops, as if divine smiths were forging weapons inside his body, ringing clearly and sonorously. This commotion continued for a long time before gradually calming down. 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, 7th Level. Lu Changxing opened his eyes, his body bathed in golden light flowing with strength, and his spirit was full. At this moment he was like a divine artifact gleaming with treasure light, radiating an indestructible and brilliant glow, so dazzling that it discouraged all contention. He clenched his fists, his heart thumped loudly, and instantly, a powerful surge of blood pressure spread around him, making the air feel heavier. With my current physical condition, I should be able to suppress that red-robed man now, Lu Changxing thought as he quietly enjoyed the strength filling his body, recalling the 6 robber cultivators from Red Leaf Valley Market. Back then, the red-robed man, who practiced dual cultivation of magical and physical arts, exchanged blows with him evenly matched. Now that he had broken through to the 7th level of the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, with a physique comparable to a superior spiritual artifact, he was confident his body was not inferior to his opponent. Lu Changxing exhaled a breath of stale air and didn't think too much. He continued to sit cross-legged, calming the blood and qi in his body, consolidating his cultivation. Qingzhou Mountain. Mu Ping, you've broken through Foundation Establishment. Lu Yuanzhong looked at the Lu Muping before him, his entire being filled with immense surprise and disbelief. Even knowing that with the Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir, Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects, and Superior Cultivation Chamber, Lu Muping had a high probability of successfully establishing his foundation. But at this moment, seeing his grandson successfully break through to foundation establishments still brought him immense joy beyond his expectation. Because never before had Qingzhou Mountain seen such a prosperous condition. 3 generations, 3 foundation establishments. And all 3 individuals were in the prime of their lives, with 100 years of lifespan. I dared not let the family down and managed to break through foundation establishment, said Lu Muping as he looked at his elder with a bowed hand and solemn voice. He knew the family had invested a lot for him to break through to foundation establishment. Good, good, good. Lu Yunzhong patted his shoulder heavily, laughing loud and tearfully. He remembered how the elder ancestral patriarch of past generations passed on a struggling Lu family to him. In less than 20 years, the family had reached a pinnacle with such prosperity. As long as the family continued on this stable path, there was even hope to go further and cultivate a false core immortal, becoming a great cultivation family. However, he knew that their growth over these years was all thanks to Lu Changxing. If it hadn't been for Lu Changxing, he would probably have died by now under the poison of corpses, and the idea of Lu Miaoge and Lu Muping's foundation establishment would have been out of the question. They would have had to rely on that slim chance, risking their lives. Mu Ping, the matter of your foundation establishment must remain a secret to the family for now, and must not be leaked to outsiders, Lu Yuanzhong cautioned again, solemnly emphasizing the instructions he had given earlier. Don't worry, grandfather, I understand, Lu Muping replied respectfully. Now, come with me to Bai Lake Mountain to meet your uncle Changxing. Remember, you must show gratitude towards him, be respectful and restrained, and do not let the pride of breaking through to foundation establishment get to your head, Lu Yuanzhong advised and reminded him. He knew Lu Changsheng's personality was easygoing and he probably wouldn't mind these matters much. But the closer the two families were, the more he felt he needed to pay attention to these details to avoid creating any rifts between them. Moreover, he was clear in his heart that Lu Changxing might look after Qingzhou Mountain for the sake of Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Yuanding, 4th elder, and the children in the family. However, Lu Muping and Lu Changxing didn't have much of a relationship. Thus, it was essential for Lu Muping to make a good impression in Lu Changsheng's heart. That way, even if the elder generation gradually passed away or ascended, the two families could continue to maintain their relationship. I understand, grandfather, Lu Muping nodded in response. Having broken through to foundation establishment, he inevitably felt a hint of arrogance in his heart. After all, breaking through from qi refinement to foundation establishment was like leaping over the dragon's gate, transforming from an ordinary cultivator to a revered elder. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 773. 3 Generations, 3 Foundation Establishments, The Dark Demon Corpse. But when he thought of Lu Changsheng's achievements and the changes in his 2 aunts, he dared not harbor even the slightest bit of arrogance. He knew full well that his uncle's strength and methods were unfathomably deep. Uncle is here? Lu Changsheng was in retreat when he received a message from Lu Miaoyun, notifying him that Lu Yuanzhong had come to visit. He got up and left the Changsheng Hall, and upon reaching the Lu family mansion's reception hall, he immediately saw Lu Yuanzhong inside. Next to him sat a 30-something-year-old man with a heroic-looking face. It was none other than Lu Muping from the Lu family. Muping, congratulations on breaking through to Foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng immediately revealed a smile and congratulated him aloud. He could see at a glance that Lu Muping had successfully broken through to Foundation establishment. Calculating the time, it had been more than half a year since he sent Lu Muping to the Qingyun market. It was about time for him to return after breaking through to Foundation establishment. Changsheng. Greetings, uncle. Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Muping hastened to their feet when they saw Lu Changsheng. Without uncle, how could I have such an opportunity to establish my foundation? Please accept my gratitude. Lu Muping said, bowing respectfully to Lu Changsheng once more. We're all family here, no need for such formalities. Lu Changsheng laughed, then helped him to his feet. Afterward, he sat down in the main seat and asked Lu Yuanzhong if he came over for anything in particular. This visit is mainly to inform you about Muping's breakthrough in Foundation establishment and to have Muping properly thank you, Lu Yuanzhong began, and continued. Regarding the news of Muping's Foundation establishment, our family won't announce it publicly for the time being. We will wait for an opportune moment to declare it and hold a grand ceremony. Such matters could simply be mentioned in a message from uncle. There really is no need for trouble, Lu Changsheng said with a laugh. They then drank tea and chatted leisurely, discussing some insights on Foundation establishment cultivation. In the course of the conversation, Lu Yuanzhong mentioned that in some days, he would be heading to Red Leaf Valley Market to take charge, leaving Lu Muping in command of Qingzhou Mountain. As for Lu Miaoge, she could continue her peaceful cultivation at Bai Lake Mountain. That would be very kind of you, uncle. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng did not offer empty courtesies. He had expended so much effort to aid Qingzhou Mountain in Foundation establishment, ostensibly to repay his debt of gratitude to Qingzhou Mountain. But more so, it was for his wife, Lu Miaoge. He hoped that Lu Miaoge could cultivate in peace at Bai Lake Mountain. After the casual chat, the two had dinner at Bai Lake Mountain and then, disguising their appearances, they departed. Sar the Nifire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Aside from Lu Miaoyun guessing the news of Lu Muping's breakthrough to Foundation establishment, no one else knew of this. Thank you, my husband. Lu Miaoyun came to express her gratitude to Lu Changsheng. Although her relationship with Lu Muping was quite ordinary and they were not very familiar with each other, having grown up in Qingzhou Mountain, she naturally hoped that Qingzhou Mountain would continue to prosper. There is no need for such words between us as husband and wife. Lu Changsheng held his wife's hand, chuckled softly, and said. Afterward, he and his wife went to the attic to enjoy the moonlit night and have a long conversation. Half a month later, Lu Yuanzhong went to sit in at the Red Leaf Valley Market, taking over Lu Miaoge's rotation. This change did not cause any impact on the marketplace. Neither the Bai family nor the Zheng family had any objections. Officially, Lu Miaoge was said to have returned to Qingzhou Mountain for closed-door cultivation, but in reality, she had gone back to Bai Lake Mountain. Sister Miaoge, now you can properly focus on your cultivation. Once Xiao's injuries are healed, we, together with Huan, will visit the Jinyang sect. Lu Changsheng spoke to his wife in a gentle voice. Now that the Mount Sumera Tree King was guarding their home, as soon as Ling Zixio's injuries were healed, he could leave with peace of mind to visit their children in Yu Country. Having the children taken to the Jinyang sect for cultivation without even a proper farewell from their father weighed heavily on his heart with guilt. All right, Lu Miaoge replied softly, her beautiful eyes revealing a mixture of longing and anticipation. As a mother, it was impossible not to miss her daughter who had gone to the Jinyang sect in Yu country for cultivation, especially when she sometimes saw her sister, Lu Miaohuan, inadvertently show her own longing, which only deepened her sense of guilt and self-reproach. She believed that had she not initially agreed to send her children to the Jinyang sect, none of this separation would have been necessary, and perhaps it would have been better for them to be taught by Lu Changxing at home, in a branch of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, deep within a valley basin shrouded in a sinister atmosphere of corpses, blood, and poisonous miasma. Hu, Xiaohua sat cross-legged, surrounded by chilling winds. Before him stood a colossal figure with the body of a man and the head of an ox. The entire figure emanated a dense necrotic aura, its muscular, dragon-like body covered with countless black symbols resembling worms or tadpoles, mysterious and terrifying, exuding an intense and intimidating presence. Its lantern-like eyes and the dark horns glinted with a soul-piercing crimson gleam, flickering uncertainly. Dark Yin Demon Sha, spirits and ghosts. Xiahou Wuo's eyes suddenly snapped open, blood-red as he stared at the massive oxen corpse before him, muttering disjointedly under his breath. He then formed hand seals, and strands of black qi seeped from his body, rising and spreading like mist. At that moment, the chilly winds rapidly picked up, howling eerily and intensely, like the wailing of ghosts and wolves. Ceased. With a forceful slap to his chest, Xiahou Wuo expelled a droplet of blood, crimson and glistening, which flew towards the oxen corpse. In an instant, a violent, brutal and terrifying force radiated from the corpse, enough to make one's scalp tingle with dread. On the dark ground, a layer of frost formed as if out of nowhere. Roar, 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 whimper, 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 cages containing demon beasts dotted the valley. At that moment, as if sensing something horrifying, the beasts let out terrified roars, quivering and trembling uncontrollably. It's so cold, what's happening? Such a terrifying and intimidating force. It's coming from the direction of our ancestor. Could it be that he has mastered a new divine skill? In the valley, there were several huts and cave dwellings, home to a number of cultivators. In that moment, they all felt the temperature drop. The air permeated with a terrifying and odd presence, causing an inexplicable sense of dread and breathlessness. Hu. In the depths of the valley, black miasma rolled and spread, not just around Xiahou Wuo, but the ox-headed corpse in front of him was also enveloped by the roiling black qi. Come! With a beckoning gesture, Xiahou Wuo summoned several demon beasts that had been prepared earlier. With a clench of his hand, the beasts exploded, turning into hot mist of blood that surged towards the ox-headed corpse. At that moment, the once flickering eyes of the corpse now glinted like red agate, crimson as blood. Boom! Suddenly, there was a deafening sound of thunder outside the valley. A torrential downpour fell unexpectedly. The dark demon corpse, it's finally complete. Xiahou Wuo looked up at the ox-headed corpse before him and laughed maniacally. But on his rigid, grayish face, a pair of blood-red eyes glinted malevolently, filled with a predatory and cruel coldness. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 774. Both Breakthroughs, Zhao Qingqing Attempts Foundation Establishment. _1/2 a year later. Changsheng Hall, the closed-door retreat chamber. Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge sat facing each other, with their palms opposite each other, their bodies gleaming, their qi flowing abundantly around them, an august aura surrounding them as countless streams of nature's spiritual energy converged within them. As the Tai Shengshueju was a dual cultivation technique for Dao companions, their regular cultivation naturally complemented and enhanced each other's progress. In the past half-year since Lu Miaoge's return, not only had Ling Zixio's recovery progressed, but the cultivation speed of both Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge had improved significantly. With the gathering of spiritual energy, their qi circulated and merged into one. Boom! Suddenly, a wave of mana and spiritual pressure burst forth from within their bodies as they each achieved a breakthrough. 47 years old, Foundation Establishment 6th layer, Lu Changsheng opened his eyes that shone like stars and let out a breath. Go to Ko. Although he mostly spent his time on talisman making, alchemy, and accompanying his wives and children, his cultivation had not been delayed too much. With the improvement of his spiritual root, a sufficient supply of elixir medicines, and the effects of dual cultivation with the Dao Foundation, his rate of cultivation even exceeded that of many who devoted themselves to arduous practice. After briefly sensing the changes from the breakthrough, the total amount of 7 luminaries mana in his body had increased by 20% compared to the Foundation Establishment 5th layer. However, there was no significant difference in quality. This increase was not as significant as the enhancement he received from the Profound Origin bead. Nonetheless, as long as he took another step forward, breaking through to the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment and entering the late stage of the realm, his mana and strength would undergo a qualitative transformation. Congratulations, my husband. At that moment, Lu Miaoge also slowly concluded her cultivation, opening her gentle, water-like eyes that moved with joy and admiration. Hee. Congratulations, Sister Miaoge, on breaking through to the 3rd layer of Foundation Establishment. Lu Changxing looked at his wife and laughed. Because Lu Miaoge's cultivation had been delayed over the years, she was still at the 2nd layer of Foundation Establishment. Otherwise, with his Tai Dao seed and the elixir medicines he provided, she should have broken through to the 3rd layer long ago. Such great joy must be well celebrated. Lu Changxing embraced his soft and fragrant wife with her jade-like smooth skin. After some playful and tender moments together, the two dressed and left Changxing Hall to head towards the Lu family mansion. Has anything happened at home during these days? Lu Changxing asked his wife Lu Miaoyun. Although he didn't worry about household matters, he still paid attention to some general affairs. Nothing much, Lu Miaoyun replied softly. However, under the guidance of Senior Wang Lin, there has been progress and breakthroughs in the breeding of the king carps at home. She cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, consecrating the luminous treasure tree as her life-bound spiritual root, radiating a vibrant and refreshing life force that was extremely comfortable to be around. Oh, there's been a breakthrough in the carp breeding at home. That is indeed good news. Lu Changsheng's face showed a hint of a smile upon hearing this. Wang Lin, being a 3rd-rank top-level beast tamer, was very skilled in the breeding of spiritual beasts. Therefore, over the years, she had provided suggestions and guidance on the breeding of the Bichon Crimson Carps and Bichon Azure Carps at Bai Shui Lake. For instance, last year's fishing production at Bai Lake Mountain increased by more than 10%. Thus, Lu Changxing was planning to open another spiritual beast breeding farm on Bai Lake Mountain while also cultivating spiritual beasts. After chatting for a while, Lu Changxing took Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaoyun to inspect the fisheries. Greetings to the mountain master. Greetings to the lady. Father, Auntie. CTH Novelfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhong Yu and Lu Xiaoru, among other fishermen, came to pay their respects. I heard there's been a breakthrough in the carp breeding, so I came to have a look. Lu Changxing waved his hand and looked towards the fishery. He saw the large carps swimming around. Reporting to the mountain master, the time for the carps to ascend to king carps has been reduced by a full 30%, and during the breeding process, Zhong Yu promptly began to report. You've done well with this. The clan will reward you in due course, Lu Changxing encouraged him. Although the optimization of carp breeding was mainly due to Wang Lin's advice and guidance, it also required the efforts of the people below to implement it. After briefly inspecting the fishery and the spiritual fields, Lu Changxing returned to the Lu family mansion to host a family banquet, lively and bustling. With so many wives at home, it was inevitable that he could not accompany each and every one of them. Therefore, after each short period of seclusion, he would host a family banquet to enliven the atmosphere at home. During these times, he would take the opportunity to chat with his wives and children about ordinary family matters. However, now most of the conversations with his wives, aside from worrying about his well-being, revolved around discussing their children's affairs. For example, Chu Zhenjin said with a wronged expression that it had been almost 2 years since her son Lu Chuanjin, aside from writing 2 letters, hadn't even visited home once. There were also his daughters, Lu Yuzhen and Lu Caizhen, who were not young anymore, and it was time to consider seeking husbands and starting families. Don't worry, Chuanjin is fine. He should be coming home soon, I estimate, Lu Changsheng said helplessly. He had the Lu family genealogy and was aware of the safety of the children at home. His son, Lu Chuanjin, was doing very well. However, he was also curious about the situations of his children who were traveling outside. He wanted to know what kind of experiences they were having during their journeys. I've heard that some treasures can show scenes from 1,000 miles away, or some divine skills can sense the situation of one's close kin through the network of blood. If I could draw such a magical treasure, they'll have more fun and entertainment at home, Lu Changxing thought to himself. He suddenly thought it would be quite nice if he could draw such a magical treasure in a lottery. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about his children being abroad, and it would save his wives from worrying too. Black Stone Market. At the entrance of a secluded courtyard within the market, Daoist Chu, please come in for a detailed talk, a woman in her 20s, with a face like a peach blossom and dressed in a palace attire, beckoned the young man in a black robe with a sweet voice. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 775. Both Breakthroughs, Zhao Qingqing Attempts Foundation Establishment. She wore a flamboyant red gauze dress, with a low-cut neckline that showcased her ample, snow-white skin, which seemed ready to burst forth. The dress had slits on both sides, through which her long, fair legs appeared fleetingly. Fairy Zhao, this isn't quite proper, is it? We could have discussed this over a drink at the inn outside. A hint of awkwardness and hesitation appeared on the face of the youth in a black robe. What's there to be afraid of? Or are you worried that I, your humble servant, might eat you up? The woman in the red dress cast a coy look, chuckled lightly, her allure captivating. Then, she extended a fair arm and took the initiative to grasp the hand of the youth in the black robe. Her body exuded a fragrance that tickled the senses, almost causing one's heart and mind to gallop away. The youth in the black robe was taken aback and subconsciously squeezed the tender, boneless palm in his hand. Then, he followed the woman into the courtyard without realizing it. You know, you're quite young to always wear such a stern face, she teased the youth in the black robe playfully, her voice dripping with coquettish charm. Fairy Zhao, go to... The youth seemed a bit embarrassed, looking at the woman before him with a smitten gaze, then raised his palm as if intending to caress her cheek. But the next instant, Poochie! A cold light flickered. A dagger had appeared in the hand of the youth without knowing when. There was no aura of spiritual power about this dagger, it was purely a manifestation of martial prowess. It made a swift cut across the neck of the woman in the red dress, blood spraying out. Panic, fear, and disbelief filled the eyes of the woman in the red dress. She had not anticipated that the youth, who had just looked at her with infatuated eyes under the influence of her bewitching technique, would suddenly attack her. And the pure martial force had been so swift and fierce that her protective magic artifact had no chance to automatically defend her. The beautiful woman fell to the ground with a thud, blood gushing from her neck, creating a pool of blood. The other two friends, come on out. Lu Chuanjin, clad in a black and gold robe and with a commanding presence and sharp features, spoke with a deep voice. Looks like you've hidden yourself well, boy. When did you figure something was wrong? From within the house, a deep voice resonated. Two men emerged from the house, glaring coldly at Lu Chuanjin. I want to know why you two are so persistently targeting me? Lu Quanzhen's eyes narrowed as he questioned the two men with a serious tone. Half a year ago, you killed two of my brothers in the Black Cloud Mountains. You were only at the 6th level of Qi refinement, yet you managed to slay my two brothers. This indicates that you must possess some fortuitous secrets. Thus, whether it's for avenging my brothers or for your secrets, we cannot let you go. One of the men, who had dark skin and was short and thin, looked at Lu Chuanjin with eyes full of murderous intent. The Black Cloud Mountains, two brothers? Lu Quanzhen's brows slightly furrowed, immediately recalling the incident. He remembered encountering 2 robber cultivators while hunting demon beasts in the Black Cloud Mountains. He continued to ask, "I dealt with those 2 cleanly and there were no other people around at the time. How do you know about it?" That was something he found quite puzzling, because he had disposed of the bodies cleanly and left no trace of himself. "It's because after you killed them, your body carried the scent of a perfume I had concocted." Another taller and thinner man spoke up. "Perfume?" Lu Chuanjin considered thoughtfully. He was sure he had removed all traces after the killings. "Stop thinking about it. This perfume is my unique blend and only spiritual beasts can detect it. Now can you tell me, when did you realize something was off with Yue?" The tall thin man asked Lu Chuanjin. "It's simple. Your motives for approaching me were too obvious, too eager." Lu Chuanjin spoke indifferently. "Just like now, you're waiting for the poison to take effect on me." "What? You knew we were using poison?" The expressions of the 2 men changed drastically upon hearing this. They had not expected Lu Chuanjin to be aware that they had been using poison. In this situation, he was still casually chatting with them. "Damn, this youngster is using poison as well." The shorter and thinner man immediately sensed something was amiss and hastily closed off his pores, summoning his magic artifact, ready to make a move. However, in that instant, a dark gold puppet appeared, turned into a streak, and tore through the air, raising a wave of turbulence as it appeared in front of the 2 men. The puppet's dark gold dazzling war blade, like a bolt of thunder and lightning, struck with formidable and domineering force, slashing forward. No, the 2 men, facing the scene, their pupils dilated, reflecting the cold dark gold war blade, felt terror, powerlessness, regret, and despair. "Pucci! Pucci!" Their surrounding protective auras and automatic defense magic artifacts activated. Yet against the puppet's slash, the aura shields shattered like bubbles. Along with the sound of slicing flesh and anguished screams, blood sprayed, and 2 heads rolled. "Phew!" Lu Chuanjin exhaled lightly. Looking at the 2 headless corpses, he murmured to himself, "With the treasures my father gave me, such trials still lack some efficacy for my benefit. Without this second-rank puppet and the life-saving talismans from my father, even if I was 50% certain that these people harbored ill intentions towards me, I wouldn't dare take such risks." Lu Chuanjin muttered to himself. Although he had acted decisively, he was not entirely certain of the other party's situation, and whether there were only 3 of them. But as the saying goes, there can only be a thief for a day, not a preventative measure for 1,000 days. Since he realized he was targeted with malicious intent and had a 3 to 5% certainty, he naturally chose to take action first, to counter their plans and nip the threat in the bud. Without dwelling on it any longer, Lu Chuanjin gathered the storage bags of the 3, burnt their bodies to ashes, and then, after scouring the room, he changed his appearance and left the marketplace. Sir the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 776. Both Breakthroughs, Zhao Qingqing attempts foundation establishment. Although the courtyard was protected by a formation from prying eyes, it wasn't visible from the outside world. But Lu Changxing wasn't certain if these individuals had accomplices, so he was eager to leave as soon as possible. By Lake Mountain. Biyun Villa. Lu Daoist, I am planning to return to the sect and enter seclusion to strike at foundation establishment, so I might not be able to come here this year. One day, Zhao Qingqing came to Bai Lake Mountain, inspected the state of the spiritual medicines, and spoke to Lu Changxing. She was dressed in a pale green long dress, her features elegant and beautiful, with a graceful and slender figure. Her bearing somewhat resembled Lu Miaoyun, who cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, exuding a thriving and refreshing vegetative essence. Striking at foundation establishment? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this and asked, Does Zhao Daoist have the foundation establishment elixir prepared? He knew she had been preparing for her foundation establishment for quite some time. Foundation establishment elixirs are hard to come by. With my current contributions to the sect, I can neither obtain nor afford one. Go to. Zhao Qingqing's face showed a trace of bitterness. 9 years prior, she had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement and had started planning for her foundation establishment. But despite being busy all these years, she had only managed to gather 1 meridian protecting elixir and 2 foundation establishment spiritual objects. As for the foundation establishment elixir, it was incredibly difficult for her to obtain. Even if she had the chance to earn enough spirit stones and contributions before the age of 60, she would not be eligible to exchange for a foundation establishment elixir. Within Qingyun's sect, one needed certain qualifications to exchange for a foundation establishment elixir. Moreover, she had previously offended her master. Not only was he unwilling to help, but he also never allocated any significant spiritual medicines from the medicine garden to her. This hindered the improvement of her spiritual plant cultivation skills, making it impossible to earn sufficient contributions in the sect. I happen to have a foundation establishment elixir. If Zhao Daoist is in need, I am willing to sell it to you, Lu Changxing said pensively. He had previously refined 3 foundation establishment elixirs. He gave one to Qingzhou Mountain and was left with 2. Apart from the one destined for Bai Ling, he had no immediate need for the other. After all, at present, only Lu Miaoyun in his family had reached the 9th level of energy refinement. However, since she cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, elixir medicines were of no aid to her cultivation, and she had no need for a foundation establishment elixir either. Given the circumstances, it seemed better to sell the foundation establishment elixir to Zhao Qingqing. With her 6th grade spiritual root and Vegbody constitution, if she had the elixir, there was a relatively high chance she could break through the foundation establishment. In doing so, the 2 of them could also forge a good karmic relationship. Foundation establishment elixir. Zhao Qingqing trembled at his words as if she had misheard. As a cultivator, she naturally desired to break through foundation establishment immensely. Countless times she had dreamt of obtaining a foundation establishment elixir to achieve her breakthrough, no longer having to endure her master's displeasure. But she was acutely aware. On her own, the chances of obtaining a foundation establishment elixir were extremely slim. Thus, after saving up 1 meridian protecting elixir and 2 foundation establishment spiritual objects, she was prepared to make her foundation establishment attempt. Even if she were to fail, given her age, she could just barely afford another attempt. Yet, to her utter astonishment, at this very moment, Lu Changxing was actually offering to sell her a foundation establishment elixir. Thank you for your kind offer, Lu Daoist, but I have already spent my entire savings on this current preparation, so I must give up on the foundation establishment elixir. Zhao Qingqing sighed, her expression bitter as she shook her head. Despite her eagerness, purchasing the meridian protecting elixir, 2 foundation establishment spiritual objects, and an earlier 3 suns elixir had exhausted all of her savings. If she now wished to buy a foundation establishment elixir, she would have to persevere for another decade or more to save the required amount. That's not a problem. If Zhao Daoist doesn't have the spirit stones right now, you can owe the amount and repay it in installments over time, Lu Changxing said with a smile, taking out the foundation establishment elixir. Although his own cultivation journey had been smooth so far, he was aware of the difficulties ordinary cultivators faced in attempting foundation establishment. 4 ordinary cultivators with decent talent who dedicated themselves to cultivation, reaching the 9th level of qi refinement wasn't too hard. But once at the 9th level, securing a foundation establishment elixir and spiritual objects became an enormous challenge. Someone like Zhao Qingqing, with a unique skill and backed by a sect, was already fortunate to enjoy many conveniences. Most loose cultivators, without any good fortune, would have no choice but to become robber cultivators, hunt demon beasts, or explore ancient ruins for spirit stones to earn a chance at foundation establishment. In the end, they typically risked their lives on 1 or 2 foundation establishment spiritual objects, gambling on a future with slim hopes. Owe it, and repay it in installments. Upon hearing this, Zhao Qingqing's beautiful eyes flickered, her expression slightly dazed. Why would Lu Daoist help me in such a manner? She looked at the handsome Lu Changxing in front of her, a notion crossing her mind. 3 years ago, when the cultivation of spiritual plants and medicines on Bai Lake Mountain had become stable, requiring little from her as a second-rank spiritual plant master, she had considered resigning from her position as a guest elder of Bai Lake Mountain. But Lu Changxing assured that with her, a spiritual plant master, any unforeseen events could be resolved. She could even offer guidance on issues related to spirit plants to his wives and children in her spare time. So he continued to employ her as a guest elder in his household. Now, as she prepared for her foundation establishment, Lu Changxing not only offered to sell her a foundation establishment elixir but also allowed her to owe it to him and repay it slowly. Before, it might have been all right. But how could she explain it now? Sar the Oval Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This was a foundation establishment elixir, something countless energy refining cultivators dreamt of obtaining. A single elixir medicine was worth 20,000 spirit stones. If she succeeded in her foundation establishment, she would have the means to repay the elixir. But what if she failed to break through? Zhao Qingqing wasn't foolish. Although she had joined the immortal sects, she had experienced a lot over the years and understood the warmth and coldness of society. Why was Lu Changxing so willing to help her? What was his intention? Was it because of her abilities or her looks? Though she knew she was good-looking, she wasn't exceptionally beautiful. She even couldn't compare to some of Lu Changxing's wives and concubines. With Lu Changxing's current status, if he was willing to offer a foundation establishment elixir, countless beauties would volunteer themselves. But apart from such a possibility, she really couldn't think of any other reason. After all, Lu Changxing had so many beautiful wives and concubines, and it seemed he was still continuously taking in more concubines and maids. Thank you for your kind offer, Daoist Lu, but I'd better not. I really don't know how to repay such a favor. Even though Zhao Qingqing was very tempted by the foundation establishment elixir, she still shook her head and declined. She had her own principles. If for the sake of this elixir she gave up her principles, then there was no need to wait until now. Had she agreed to her master's matchmaking, she might have already achieved foundation establishment. Once Zhao Daoist breaks through to foundation establishment, as a disciple of the immortal sects, repaying these won't be a problem in the future. Or do you feel that acquiring this foundation establishment elixir is too easy and lacks a sense of achievement? Or perhaps you're worried about failing the breakthrough and being unable to repay it? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. He wasn't surprised by Zhao Qingqing's response. After all, their relationship, though not bad, wasn't close enough to owe 20,000 spirit stones. Daoist Lu, Zhao Qingqing gave Lu Changxing a glance. What did he mean by no sense of achievement, worrying about failing the breakthrough and being unable to repay? But he wasn't wrong either. She truly did feel that the foundation establishment elixir came too easily, incurring too great a favor. If she failed to break through with this elixir, repaying it would be too hard. Zhao Daoist, we have known each other for many years. If I'm willing to produce this foundation establishment elixir, it means I trust your character. If you need it, just accept this elixir and don't put too much psychological burden on yourself. If you're really worried about repaying it, you can deduct from the guest elder fees and work for my Bai Lake Mountain for 20 years. Lu Changxing saw that Zhao Qingqing was in a dilemma and smiled openly. Though he had a few other intentions in giving this elixir, he indeed partly wanted to help a friend. Zhao Qingqing's expression twisted in conflict. She knew if she missed this opportunity, another like it might not come again. In the end, she couldn't resist the temptation of foundation establishment and softly said, "In that case, thank you, Daoist Lu. Please rest assured, Daoist Lu, I will repay this spirit stone debt and favor as soon as possible." Zhao Qingqing accepted the porcelain bottle with a grave face. "Of course, I trust Zhao Daoist's character." Lu Changxing laughed. This is a premium foundation establishment elixir." Zhao Qingqing opened the porcelain bottle and immediately showed surprise, astonishment, and delight. Keep in mind, her expectations were just for a standard foundation establishment elixir. But now, Lu Changxing had actually provided a premium foundation establishment elixir, truly adding an unexpected joy to her experience. After all, this almost touched upon her half chances of successful foundation establishment. Hey yes. Lu Changxing nodded. This favor from Daoist Lu, I really don't know how to repay it. Zhao Qingqing looked at Lu Changxing with mixed feelings, feeling that this favor she owed was a bit too much. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible.